honorable members in the House and on the on the platform. I am presenting the second quarter report on behalf of the Portfolio Committee of Health. The total appropriation adjusted budget for the department for the 2022-2023 financial year was 59,426 million. By the end of the second quarter, the department spent 15 billion, which amounted to 51% of its overall appropriation budget for that year. The department put targets of 167, which were relevant for addressing under that quarter. Of the 167 targets, 91 have been achieved by the department. The department had recorded an overachievement in the following areas: percentage of service providers' invoices without dispute paid within 30 days, complaint resolution within 25 working days at 96.7% against the target of 95%. Number of CHCs providing 24-hour services is at 38%. People living with HIV tested and initiated on treatment. Child under 5 years pneumonia, diarrhea case fatality rate, and severe malnutrition case fatality rate under 5 years. Antenatal visit before 20 weeks. Infant PCT test positive around 10 weeks. Reduced transmission and COVID-19 related mortality rates within 6 days. Immunization under 1 coverage. EMS P1 urban response time under 30 minutes rate, and EMS rural response under 60 minutes response rate. Those were the achievements by the department. Regarding the performance on its own, Program 1, administration recorded 50% achievement of the target. Program 2, which is district health services, 67% achievement of targets was realized. Program 3, emergency medical services, there was 0 achievement of the targets. And then on provincial hospital services, there was 75% achievements of its targets. Central hospital services, 67% achievements of its targets. Health services and training, it was 0%. Health support services, 50%, and health facilities management, it was at 0%. On other oversight on its entities, and the department put some measures that were taken to ensure the public and the stakeholders were taken into consideration. There was an anti-illegal abortion and vaccination awareness campaign, mental health event in Tshwane and in Ekurhuleni. There was a pre-presidential Imbizo report, government expo in Diepsloot, the pre-presidential, the Intirisano in Isicelo, and Premier's Ethics Meeting, MEC Intirisano program at AFM Church at Kokosi was also realized. The details, the oversight, on Giodi. In the quarter under review, 65,080 women were empowered, 28,762 youth, and 1,300 people living with disabilities were also covered. On compliance with fiduciary requirements, the department does not fully comply with the requirements of the GPL in submitting reports, responses to House resolutions, petitions, and any other information required. The committee noted outstanding House resolutions from the previous financial year. Regarding the AG, the department was compliant with the AGS requirements when submitting financial statements and any other information required by that office. On PSC, Public Service Commission, the department is compliant with PSC and responsive with recommendations made. And then on compliant with fiduciary, on PFMA, the department does not seem to fully comply with the requirements of PFMA in its financial expenditure. This was because the department's spending was either significantly above or below the acceptable spending percentage. Honorable Speaker, I would like to request the House to take that the areas of this report that I could not read be considered as read, because in the interest of time. The department to continue implementing the 6 months intervention plan for priority programs to assist in improving performance further and help address gaps in provision of support services for improved clinical outcomes and prevention of negative outcomes, especially regarding the audits and assessment by oversight bodies. The findings by the committee is concerned with continuous non-performance of the department in percentage of budget spent on township enterprises. The committee is concerned with the client's tracing system in facilities for clients on treatment, and also continuous non-achievement on 6 days postnatal visits by postnatal mothers. Recommendations: the department should provide detailed report on the strategy to ensure that major suppliers comply with subcontracting of township enterprises and a consequence management strategy for non-compliance. The response are expected on the 31st January 2023. The department will provide a report on strategy in order to improve tracing of patients who are on treatment, as this has been a major factor in non-achievement of some of the targets. The response is expected on the 31st of January 2023. The department must report on plans to improve the continuous non-achievement in postnatal visits 6 days post-delivery. The response is expected on the 31st January 2023. It's very key for the department to check those mothers and babies at that time. The department, on acknowledgements, Dr. Dihamela, the chairperson of Health Portfolio Committee, on behalf of the Committee of Health, would like to thank the MEC for Health, Nomantung Komoralihuku, and the team led by Dr. Nolu Chungu, the HOD, for submitting this report and ensuring that the committee is able to interact with the report on time. Honorable members of the committee, all of them are thanked for their efforts that they have made, including those who give apologies all the time without attending. I would like to acknowledge the support staff led by Committee Coordinator Ms. Panchwambalo, Senior Researcher Dr. Ninweli, Dr. Mukonoto, Coordinator Senior Ngiti, and Coordinator and August Committee Administrator Team Somi Service Officer Aingobo, Hansat Staff and Emma Kwela, Information Officer W. Nsibante, Communication Officer A. Mukoka, and Public Outreach Officer N. Butelets. On adoption, in accordance with Rule 117, Section 2, Subsection C, read together with Rule 164, the Health Portfolio Committee hereby recommends that the report of the Gauteng Department of Health second quarterly report for 2023-2022 financial year be adopted by the House. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. Any seconder to the report?
I rise to second the
Honorable seconding. I now put a question. All those in favor say yes. All not in favor say no. The ayes have it. The report is adopted by the House. Can we have the next order? Honourable members, I'm advised that the mics are now on, so you can use the mics and switch off your gadgets. Can you read the next order?
Thank you, Speaker. Order number 4 is the Community Safety Portfolio Committee Oversight Report on the second quarterly report of the Department of Community Safety for the 2022-2023 financial year.
Honourable Dr. Masugu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable members and the citizens of Gauteng. I would like to present the report of the third quarterly report of the Department of Community Safety for the financial year 2022-2023. And I would also like to request the House to consider the parts that are not going to be read by myself to be considered as read, as I'm just going to focus on the executive summary, the committee concerns and the recommendations. The department has met 39 targets of the 49 targets which have planned for the quarter, translating to 98% of target achievement. This is an improvement from 87, which was achieved in the previous quarter. The performance at program level has recorded in the improvement with Program 2 and Program 3 achieving 100% of its target, whilst Program 1 was recording underachievement with 88%. The committee noted the department continued to discharge its oversight mandate over law enforcement agencies in the province, and they continue to embark on various intervention programs aimed at crime prevention and promotion of safety. Some of the key achievements by the department in line with strategic priorities include 282 unannounced and 144 announced police station visits which were conducted. These visits by the department are monitoring the implementation of the Independent Police Investigation Directorate, the IPID, and also looking at the police compliance with the Domestic Violence Act, as the service delivery complaints against the police still rages on in the province. The committee acknowledges the oversight visits conducted. There's 2,833 survivors of gender-based violence and femicide were supported with a range of services, including medical, legal, psychosocial services. 250 gender-based violence cases were tracked in the criminal justice system to improve coordination of the criminal justice system. 10 new green doors houses were established. 72 officials, inclusive of police officers and healthcare workers, were trained on GBVF matters to improve efficiency and prevent secondary victimization of survivors. 450 crime dockets were audited. 138 social crime prevention intervention, 115 school safety interventions were conducted, 38 victim empowerment centers were assessed, and 36 police forums and 28 patrol teams were established, and they were assessed. The committee welcomes the report from the department sourced service through Africa Desk Aura on the rapid response panic application as part of the efforts to enhance crime prevention. The department had achieved 39 of the 40 targets as indicated above. The three main programs are the ones that it's one, the 7 targets, 88% of it were achieved. 8 targets were planned for the quarter, marking 88% target achievement, whilst Program 2 and Program 3 met all its targets, both programs recording 100%. The provincial mandate, as derived from the Constitution and national legislation, it has been adopted to ensure that Gauteng is a safe and secure province. This mandate was reinforced by the adoption of the Gauteng Safety Strategy by the Executive Council of Gauteng Province. The Gauteng Safety Strategy is premised on 8 pillars and the improving the quality of policing, encourage community participation, promotion of social crime prevention, integrity management, institutional arrangement, and creating safer roads environment and promoting pedestrian safety, and lastly, improving traffic law enforcement. In terms of financial performance, the department's budget quarter was 327 million and 253 was spent. This marks 77% for the quarter under review. The department's year-date expenditure to the consideration of this report was 512.8 million, marking of 44% of the 1.1 billion which was received at the beginning of the financial year. The expenditure per program has been as follows. In administration, program 1 is 42 million of the 46.3. Program 2 of the provincial secretariat has spent 48 million on the allocation of 96.9 million, which is 50%. Program 3, traffic management, expended 163 million of the quota of 184, marking 89% expenditure. This is an under expenditure by 21 million, which was actually noted. The reason for the under expenditure were delays in filling of vacancies and non-other implementation of 24/7 shift for traffic officers. In terms of the department has been able to deal with submitted responses to resolutions of the committee oversight report on the first quarter. The committee was informed that there was no petition by the department, and in terms of GOD, the department had reported 53.8% and 2.4% of appointment of women in senior management and people living with disability, respectively, with the department fixed establishment. Furthermore, the department reported 597 female volunteers were contracted as gender-based violence brigades. Out of 597, 248 were senior citizens, 171 were youth, and 2 were people with disability. I'm going to move over to the concerns and the findings of the committee. In terms of the committee findings and concerns, the constant increase on violent crimes in the province, the poor compliance with Domestic Violence Act by some police stations, the inability to reduce the high vacancy rate in the department failure to conduct quarterly review sessions with the law enforcement agencies, the department's significant under expenditure by 50% on program 2. On committee recommendations, the department must review and intensify crime prevention and interventions to achieve safer communities. A written response in this regard will be expected in 28 February 2023. The department must investigate stricter measures to hold police stations accountable for non-compliance with the Domestic Violence Act, and the report should be provided to the committee by the 28th of February 2023. The department must ensure all vacant positions are filled by the end of March of the financial year and provide a breakdown of all filled positions. This we'll expect in the new financial year on the 7th of April 2023. The department must improve its performance in relation to quarterly review sessions with law and provide progress, or this is a repeat on the last. And lastly, in terms of acknowledgements, the chairperson of Community Safety Portfolio Committee, Honorable Bima Suku, we wish to thank the MEC of Safety and Security, Honorable Faith Nonhlanhla Mazibuko, the HOD Nontsigelelo Sisulu and their team for cooperation during the committee assessment of the department's second quarter report. I further would like to thank the members of the committee, Honorable Nkosi Malubane, Honorable S. Kanyile, Honorable Bosch, Honorable Robinson, Honorable Khatebe, Honorable Hoffman for due diligence in the assessment of the department in the second quarter, and more also thank the supporting staff, the committee coordinator Zuziwe Mbanjwambalo, senior researcher Sekina Nweli, committee coordinator Tabile Malumane, committee researcher Babalo Malise Banda, committee administrator Ntabiseng Mufukeng, and communication officer Tebe Kumalo, Hansard recorder Sylvester Baloi, and service officer Fezeka Royo, information officer Azendwini Nechubuyu, and all support staff in the assistance in the consideration of this report. In terms of Rule 117, Section 2, Subsection C, read together with Rule 164 of the Standing Rules of Gauteng Provincial Legislature, the committee hereby presents its report to the House for adoption. Thank you.
Any seconder to the report?
I rise to second.
Thank you, Honorable Bosch, seconding. I now put a question. All those in favor say yes. All not in favor say no. The ayes have it. The report is adopted by the House. Can we have the next order?
Thank you, Speaker. Order number 5 is the debate on the annual report of the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs for the 2021-2022 financial year.
Honorable Msimanga.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Good morning to you, to Honorable Premier Sufi, members of the legislature, members of the staff component in Gauteng Legislature, and Badudi ba Gauteng ke a le dumedisa. Madam Speaker, the residents of Gauteng are yet again failed by the Gauteng Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, which constantly failed to deliver on its core mandate and to spend its allocated budget on much-needed service delivery programs. Now, I've said this, and I'll repeat what I said to you, and Tatele Sufi. Gauteng needs a master plan. When we're talking about infrastructure, whether it's sewer, water, electricity, we need a master plan. We need a road master plan. Even when it's not roads that are regional roads, municipal roads, we need a master plan that we need to be talking to. We need to know what municipalities are doing, and this is something that I've continuously raised when we talk in COCTA. Now, we had, unfortunately, let me say fortunately, we now have somebody who seems to have an ear to listen. Previously, the MEC was there, even when there were great ideas that had been deposited, would never listen because he thought that he knew everything, but never really achieved much, and I will talk to that in a moment. The outcomes of the 2020-21 or the 2021-2022 annual financial report uncover an under expenditure of about 15 million rand, which is a clear indication of poor planning and execution by the department. The staff attribution may be the easiest escape to explain the missed opportunity to perform better, but I believe that it can be eradicated with proper planning. Again, once we know we have a master plan, we are able to then put people and resources towards that master plan. The department, with a 100% unapproved organizational structure, is mere proof that the department is not in a good shape, and nothing can be achieved under this current leadership. 50 million rand, as an example, was spared and unused, despite the department citing budget constraints as the key reason for not achieving some of its targets. And these are some of the targets that hadn't been achieved. 0 municipalities were monitored on the implementation of the GBVF response programs. 0 learners with disabilities were awarded bursaries against the targeted of 10. 0 municipalities were afforded an opportunity to be upskilled with technical skills capacity through the multidisciplinary teams. 0 large power users and commercial customer meters were replaced, although the target was 50. There are just but to mention a few which were not executed, but millions of rands have been returned to Treasury in this point in time. I must say that MEC Kumalo, the work is really cut out for you. And we have said to you that we will be working with you. And I'm saying this again. If we are serious about turning the lives of the people at a local level, this is one of the departments that needs to be at the forefront of everything that needs to be done. I want to then say that the people of Mfuleni at this point in time are still wondering what happened to the 4 years of administration that has taken place there. MEC Maile came in this house and said that the finances of the municipalities have been turned around. He came to the portfolio committee and said the finances of that municipality had been turned around, and therefore everything had been done to pull out that administration that has taken place. This week, all the vehicles of the municipalities have been attached. All the accounts of the municipalities have been attached. Now we need to be asking ourselves, has the administration really worked there? Or have we really done very, very wrong to the people of Mfuleni amongst other municipalities there? I want to say that in the 28 years of democracy, the community of Mfuleni is still crying to get access to reliable water supply, electricity, and refuse removal. This is a shame and a disgrace. These residents are very, very much in need of a democratic party that will be in government that will ensure that services are indeed delivered to them. The services are not privileges. Madam Speaker, but there are basic human rights that needs to be given to the residents. You can howl all you want, and Tadesh Niman, the message will still land there, because you don't know, you have never lived in Mfuleni, you don't know what to live in a street that is smelling of sewer. You don't know what it feels like to live in a street that doesn't have electricity. That's why you can sit there and say all the nonsense that you are saying here. And there, I'm speaking for the people of Mfuleni that are needing services that are not getting services. You are sitting there, you are sitting there after making all sorts of noises that you were making last week about the so-called black people in the DA, while you are the token white sitting in the ANC there. So you must keep quiet and let us speak about the people that are experiencing lack of services out there.
Madam Speaker,
I'm saying, Madam Speaker, to you, that we are saying that until there is a master plan that is going to ensure that the Department of Culture, the Department of Culture is going to ensure that municipalities are capacitated.
That one must withdraw.
That we are going to have a plan that is going to ensure, Madam Speaker, that the municipalities are assisted in order to be able to do revenue collection, in order to then do proper project management, in order to make sure that projects are actually then executed and the people will then be able to receive the services that they deserve. The people of Mfuleni, the people of Western, the people of Mogale, the people of Tshwane, the people of Johannesburg, the people of Mogale, of Mfuleni, amongst others, and Ekurhuleni, are all saying that we want a provincial government that will work with us at a municipal level to be able to then deliver the services, not the Mickey Mouse that we have been experiencing so far. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I want to conclude by saying that this government has shown that it doesn't have the interest of the people at heart and has actually failed to deliver services and should be voted out in 2024. And a government that is caring should be voted in order to ensure that not only services are provided, that money will not be hidden under mattresses in Palapala, that will make sure that the people will then get the right services that they deserve. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Sorry, honourable members, I have noted Honourable Modise on the line. Honourable Modise.
Madam Speaker, can you tell Solim Sima to withdraw that? We can't come and tell us we're speaking nonsense here.
Honourable Modise, when you are recognized to speak, you first indicate the rule, but
the
also...
rule is that it's out of order. I can't tell us
Honourable Modise, can you listen?
He thinks for these business people that he con every day.
Honourable Modise will mute you. If you are not going to listen, what you do first is to indicate the rule, then you are allowed to speak. But secondly, it is unacceptable to call a member by his or her first name.
It's not honorable, that one. He abuses women.
No. That's the rules of this House.
Shut up. There are only 72 honorable members in that House.
Honorable Nkosi Malubane. Honorable Nkosi Malubane, you know the procedure. You just raise your hand. I'm saying you raise your hand. You speak properly, you are recognized, and you must be allowed to speak. Honourable Modise, if you can't raise the rule, can I therefore go to the next member, which is Honourable Tong? Honourable Tong?
Thank you, Speaker. There are numbers of issues in the annual report that needs to be addressed, because this department occupies a central role as it is responsible for ensuring that municipalities deliver most sought-after services to the poorest people in Gauteng. As EFF, we have noted that besides the AG not finding any significant deficiencies and material misstatements, the department lacks the capacity to build its own internal human capital with necessary skills to ensure that the strategic objectives are met. This evidence in the department's failure to deliver, then roll back money to the Treasury. They underspent the budget allocation by 15.8 million in the 2021-2022 financial year. The department permanent reliance on consultants poses a serious risk as this will be adopted by municipalities. In her briefing to Parliament on the 2019-2020 municipal audit outcomes, AG pointed out that municipality relied on short-term and costly solutions such as consultants to compensate the lack of financial management and reporting skills. We raised the issue of over-reliance on consultants in the last annual report debate. According to AG, Acting Business Unit Leader for Gauteng, Dorothy Rampopo, irregular expenditure was the main cause of financial distress for most Gauteng municipalities. Gauteng municipalities have been using their services of consultants and had spent close to 1 billion on certain elements of financial reporting since 2016 and 2017 financial year on consultants. The department must urgently develop internal capacity. We have these skills in Gauteng with many young auditors graduating annually, but they languish in unemployment misery daily. For the 2020-2021 financial year alone, the department spent over 18 million on consultants. Though the department concedes to supporting municipalities in terms of service delivery, especially by monitoring the provision of electricity to 2,985 indigent households in the province. We believe that is not enough given to unemployment rates in the province. The department had to make sure that all households that receive social grants in province are declared indigent and provided with basic services such as water, electricity, as well as sanitation. The EFF has always maintained that land is critical and should be transferred to the custodianship of the state for equal redistribution among our people. Last year in 2021, our province was hit by a massive storm which left people in destitute. These people were accommodated at several places such as churches. The department was left wanting because it could not provide relief due to inability to secure land to build temporary shelters for those who were affected by storm. Often this department will not even help with temporary shelter, not only for storm victims, but for eviction victims too. Should the land have been in the hands of state, we will not be stranded during natural disasters or otherwise. So the unspent money to the rolled back to the Treasury. In the future, COGTA Committee and Treasury must not allow this again. Speaker, there seems to be endless water contamination by sewage in some of municipalities in the province. The department does not have a plan for this health hazard. The water contamination in Hammanskraal is similar to that experienced in Mfuleni. There are some of the problems that must take center stage in the department's APPs. Recently, the province experienced the collapse of the system where residents were subjected to water shedding. This is due to the aging of collapsing municipal infrastructure that is caused by municipalities' failure to use the allocated municipal grants. We are concerned with use of the word job opportunities. As the EFF, we would like to reiterate that the EPWP is not sustainable.
Thank you, Honorable Tong. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker.
Honorable Mekgwe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Greetings to all the members of this august House and people of Gauteng. Honorable Speaker, let me start by saying the News 24 paper on the 1st of September said the city of Cape Town is accused of forking out almost 500,000 for DA councillor. It is alleged that she is on bail on 10,000. on the 25th of November. Okay. On the 25th of November, it was said, the city of Cape Town is taking... Give me a chance, please. On the 25th of November, the city of Cape Town is taking disciplinary action against the officials implicated in the fraud of the tenders. The eight people of DA were arrested. Over 700 million on fraud tender experience. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, please allow me to open my submission today by invoking the words of Bertolt Brecht, the German communist playwright and poet who once wrote, and I quote, "Some people will wage a struggle for a day, and that is good. Some will wage a struggle for a year, and that is better. Some will wage a struggle for many years, and that is even better. But there are those who will wage a struggle in their entire lives. They are the ones we cannot do without," close quote. Madam Speaker, the stated aim of our national democratic revolution is to transform society for the benefit of the majority of our people. It is my submission today that there is no room for short-termism in the work that we do. In this regard, no one can challenge our unparalleled consistency over the years towards achieving this long-term aim of transforming society. Our work throughout the years to this day encapsulates the practical expression of our endeavor towards a better life for all under the principle of a government of the people, by the people, in the spirit of the Freedom Charter. To illustrate this further, our strategy and tactics document talks about different stages of the revolution, and a stage in which the main content of our revolution is the total national liberation of the largest and most oppressed group, in particular the African people, with emphasis on total national liberation. It implores us to ensure that this strategic aim must govern every aspect of the conduct of our struggle, whether it be the formulation of policy or the creation of structures, and I used the word struggle here, advisedly, in the same context as used by Bertolt Brecht, my communist comrade quoted above. If we accept that to be the basis, Madam Speaker, the struggle is indeed a lifelong engagement and not a sprint by the stretch of imagination. Our priority as the sixth administration and the legislature has been, and still is, pursuing the ideal of total national liberation, meaning the long-term political, economic, and social emancipation. To achieve this, the people-centered ANC-led government is based on fulfillment of the will of the people and ensuring a better life for all. Our transformation agenda entails building a legitimate state that serves the interest of the overwhelming majority. It is further articulated in the ANC strategy and tactics, building developmental state that provides effective basic services and with capabilities to take forward a far-reaching agenda of a broad national development, which is at the same time placing people and their involvement at the center of this process. Madam Speaker, let us talk about Culture Department and its contribution to the agenda mentioned above. The department was allocated 592 million in the 21-22 financial year and was able to utilize an amount of 576 million, translating to 97% budget spent. In terms of the PFMA, it reflects an effective and efficient financial management. Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to announce to this august House that the AG found that the department achieved a clean audit opinion for the year under review. It is worth noting that this department has maintained a clean audit opinion since the outset of the 6th government administration. Clean audit opinion is a culture and a yearly commitment in this department, just as it is with all the work that they do. Madam Speaker, the ANC-led government is a democratic government that is based on the will of the people, and we always derive our strength and existence from the people of Gauteng province. And an existence from the people of active citizenship means people getting involved in their local communities and democracy at all levels. It is within that background that the public participation remains an integral component of our democratic government. For the financial year under review, the department set a target of conducting 20 voter education stakeholder engagement sessions. Accordingly, the department surpassed this target by far with 27 additional sessions conducted, which brings the total number of 47. Madam Speaker, the need for the strengthening alignment in intergovernmental coordination and collaboration cannot be overstated. Previous ANC conferences, NEC Mahotla, NGCs, national conferences, and the NDP have emphasized this. It was on the basis that it was on that basis that the ANC at its 54th National Conference resolved that local government ITPs should remain the central planning tool in which all other spheres of government participate to address alignment of planning in the 3 tiers of government. To this end, ITPs helps to coordinate the work of local and other spheres of government in a coherent plan to improve the quality of life for all the people living in the area. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to mention that the Office of the MEC is leading by good example. For the year under review 21-22, the department spent 94% of the allocated budget, maintained good financial performance for all the sub-programs, that is 100% expenditure reported. Of course, this expenditure corresponds with the service delivery outputs and performance targets. In conclusion, Honourable Speaker, we note that there are still challenges that the department needs to tackle via local government as the implementing government closer to the people. Some of these are a result of climate change, and we are glad to the world is in union addressing this, as witnessed by the successful conclusion of COP27 climate change conference held in Egypt recently. In no small way, we are feeling the effects of climate change as the season has set in. Severe weather conditions of extreme heat, torrential rains, and devastating floods are upon us, leaving death and destruction behind. We've seen an increase of sinkholes in Klep Valley Road in Klipspruit, in Soweto, Gauteng in Marafong, Centurion, Stephanus, Beckus Roads in Camptown Park, the N1 near Flying Saucer Interchange, and on R21 near Olifantsfontein, amongst others. These are some of the 200 plus roads reported to have been affected by the inclement weather in Gauteng. This is a cause for concern, and it must be looked into with the agency it deserves. On coalition governments, the reality is that we have not mastered the act of co-governing, as instability has become the order of the day, which therefore affects service delivery, with communities being left in far worse positions. We shall continue to explore this place for any short or long-term solution to bring stability. We need to learn lessons from India, Japan, Germany, New Zealand, and etc. notwithstanding our idea of African solutions to the African problems. I thank you.
Honorable MEC, can you respond to the debate? Honorable MEC, can you unmute yourself? Can you unmute yourself?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I'm sorry about the slight delay. Madam Speaker, Madam Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Premier, the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, the Honorable MEC, my colleagues, the people of Gauteng. I'm honored to table the Q2 report of the Gauteng Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs for the year 2022-23 financial year and to highlight some of the key achievements of the department for this quarter. Let me just hasten to say, Madam Speaker, that at some point I think we'll find the time and space to really engage on what is the role of this particular department insofar as the functioning of municipalities are concerned. Madam Speaker and members of the House, the department has delivered on its mandate towards meeting the annual and quarterly target as outlined in the annual performance plan. We hereby outline the key priority programs and projects that have been implemented through the annual performance plan across the departmental budget programs in Q2. And I will also reflect on key achievements and challenges experienced during the quarter under review. I'm pleased to report that we have achieved 35 of the 9 targets that were planned for this quarter. Only 4 were not achieved. This amounts to a 90% achievement rate. In terms of administration, 2 targets were planned in the annual performance plan in the quarter under review. 1 of these targets was achieved and 1 not achieved. Achieved output amounted to 20% of procurement on request for quotation from women-owned companies. The unachieved target was the payment of service providers in 15 days, but service providers were all paid within 30 days and 98% of this target was achieved. This was due to delays in payment runs of the Gauteng Treasury. In local governance support, the department achieved 18 of the 20 targets that were planned for the quarter under review. Honourable members, we are mounting a serious fight against corruption and malfeasance. 4 municipalities, that is the Western District Municipality, Merafo, Mogale, and Rand West local municipalities, were monitored on their implementation of anti-corruption measures. In addition, 11 municipalities were supported with integrity management measures by means of training, awareness, raising, and workshops. Madam Speaker, institutions of governance that promote public participation are the cornerstone of our democratic order. Through public participation, the induction of ward committee based on the asset-based community development approach was successfully done in Mfuleni, Merafo, Midvaal, Mogale City, and Johannesburg. And the 9 municipalities were also supported with the establishment of ward committees. Through our stakeholder liaison program, 2 civic awareness programs focused on youth development and 1 voter education engagement sessions were implemented during the second quarter. The department provides municipal financial support to the municipalities, that is Lesedi and Midvaal, to capacitate them to implement the simplified revenue plans. The municipalities, Mogale City and Rand West, were provided with capacity to undertake data enrichment of large power and water users within the municipalities. The municipalities, that is Mfuleni and Merafo, were also provided with revenue expect and support for the implementation of integrated revenue enhancement, data management strategies, additional capacity to reduce unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. The City of Tshwane Metropolitan Municipalities was provided with capacity to undertake viability assessment and the development of viability plans. Honourable members, the department has provided support for capacity development through provision of expert, legal, and labour relations. Support to comply with Municipal System Act regulation was provided also to 4 municipalities, that is Johannesburg, Merafo, Rand West City, and West Rand Municipality. with the appointment of senior managers and the fulfilling of critical positions. 3 municipalities, that is the Merafong, Rand West, and the West Rand District, were also supported to institutionalize and cascade performance management systems to levels below senior management. Madam Speaker, the work that we do is underpinned by municipal monitoring and evaluation services. A quarterly municipal performance report against the key performance areas of local municipality development was developed. 9 municipalities were also guided to comply with municipal property rates as amended during this quarter. In urban planning, a total of 12 targets were planned for the same period under review, and 11 of these targets were achieved. The local economic development has yielded a total of 22,600 work opportunities through the community work program. Honorable members, we are serious about redressing the challenges of apartheid spatial planning through the integrated development planning coordination. 5 districts and metros were monitored on the implementation of one plans through the convening of the 5 district development model engagement sessions and preparation of relevant reports. Our municipalities continue to experience infrastructure challenges. We continue to monitor the implementation of infrastructure development programs and the implementation of indigent policies. 5 districts were monitored on the spending of national grants and 9 municipalities on the adaptive responses to the climate change impact on water supply services and use. 2 districts, so to say, Madam Speaker. The department has disbursed about 16 million for fire and rescue services in Mfuleni, Lesedi, Midval local municipality and Western District municipality. In development planning, the department had 6 targets planned for the second quarter. All 6 targets were achieved. In terms of intergovernmental relation, a total of 4 HR structures, which are very important structures to provide support to the leadership of municipalities, which is the work stream of the political MEC meeting together with the Mayor's Forum, the technical one that is headed by the HOD, and the LINMEC are functioning in accordance with the IGR framework. The department has 50% achievement on the implementation of decisions taken at the IGR forums, and 1 action plan report was also completed. In terms of traditional leadership, the department managed to process all succession claims and dispute received. The finalization and resolving of the claims and dispute will be done by the Commission on Traditional Leadership, Disputes and Claims. As indicated, Madam Speaker, we are ready to engage with members insofar as the role of this department is concerned, as it relates to the resources that it has and the level at which it can intervene together with municipalities. We are ready to engage with the leadership of municipalities in all our metros and the districts and local municipalities in order to ensure that we create stability insofar as the issue of the collisions are concerned. I wish to express my sincere appreciation to the previous MEC for COPTA, Honorable Lebogang Maile, the Portfolio Committee led by Honorable Fasia Hassan, the management of the department led by the acting head of department, Ms. Itumele Mogate, and the staff for their unwavering dedication and commitment. Without all your cooperation and hard work, none of this achievement would have been possible. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. That concludes the debate on the COPTA report. Can we have the next order?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The next order of the day is consideration of the Cooperative Governance, Traditional Affairs, Research and Development and eGov Government Portfolio Committee's Oversight Report on the annual report of the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs for the year 2021-2022 financial year. Thank you.
Honourable Mukhali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, Honourable Premier, executive members, our guests. Honourable Speaker, the acting chairperson of the Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs and E-Government Portfolio Committee, Honorable Refilio Mohali, tables the committee's oversight report on the annual report of the Gauteng Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs for the 2021-22 financial year as follows. As executive summary, the Portfolio Committee noted that in terms of the oversight on budget expenditure, the department utilized an amount of 576.2 million, which translates to 97% compared to the allocation of 592 million in the 21-22 financial year. This then implies that the department incurred an underspending of 15.8 million, which is 3%. However, the highlighted expenditure is in line with the Public Finance Management Act, reflecting the management of expenditure in the effective and efficient manner. As a result, the Auditor General found that the department achieved a clean audit opinion for the year under review. The department reported that 4 municipalities are functional according to the Back to Basic tracking tool. The department also reported that the target for recruiting 50% women in senior management service position was not achieved. The department attained 35% as at the end of the financial year. The department reports that 50 of the large power users and commercial customers meters were not replaced in Merafung local municipality. On strategic risk assessment, the Portfolio Committee noted the following risks: inability to effectively support municipalities to be efficiently viable, disruption of the administrative and political operation in hung municipalities, inadequate support for municipal services delivery on infrastructure projects, poor support for local economic development in municipalities, to mention but the few. On finance concern, proposed recommendation and implication on lawmaking. This section deals with the findings, concerns, and recommendations made by the Portfolio Committee when exercising its oversight function through scrutinizing the annual report for the GD COPTA 2021-22 financial year. Portfolio Committee concerns the non-attainment of target of recruiting 50% women in senior management services positions, the non-achievement on the target of replacing 50 large power users and commercial customers with meter in Merafung local municipality, the inability of the department to support municipalities to be financially viable, the lack of regulation or legislation that governs coalition government in municipalities that lead to both administrative and leadership stability, poor support on local economic development in municipalities. On proposed committee recommendations, the following are the Portfolio Committee's recommendation on the COPTA Annual Report 2021-22 financial year, which the department should respond to by the 31st January 2023. The department should, in the next financial year, ensure the attainment of recruiting 50% women in senior management services position as opposed to the 35% attained in the financial year under review. The department should provide Merafung local municipality with all necessary support to achieve the target of replacing 50 large power users and commercial customers with meters. The Portfolio Committee will monitor this target in the next financial year. The department should provide the Portfolio Committee with stringent measures that will be put in place to support municipalities to be financially viable and stable. The portfolio committee views the inability of the department to support municipalities to be financially viable with disregard, since most municipalities are struggling with their capex. The department should ensure that there are proper guidelines and regulation in municipalities that are governed by coalition and present such to portfolio committee within the next 3 months. The department should ensure municipalities are adequately supported on local economic development. The economic development activities, urban planning, infrastructure development, and social development activities will improve the local government conditions. On acknowledgement, the acting chairperson, Honorable Refilwe Mokhale, wishes to thank the Honorable MEC, Mr. Mzi Kumali, the acting HOD, Ms. I. Mokate, together with her team from the Gauteng Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs for their cooperation and participation in the portfolio committee activity. The chairperson further wishes to acknowledge and express her gratitude to honorable members of the portfolio committee on COCTA and eGov, Ms. B. Mekgwe, Ms. Mokhale, Mr. S.T. Msimang, Mr. N. Dijager, Mr. B. Dlamini, Ms. G.K. Chong, Mr. A. Chitangano, Ms. A. Dilange, Mr. P. Addison, Mr. D.K. Adams. Furthermore, the portfolio committee would like to express appreciation for the contribution of the following support staff group committee coordinator, Ms. Z. Panswambalo, senior committee researcher, Ms. S. Ninweli, committee coordinator, Ms. J. Nyembe, coordinator researcher, Ms. S. Nene, committee administrator, Ms. N. Tembi has answered recorder, Mr. N. Mbonani, service officer, Ms. M. Netwa, communication officer, Ms. P. Bula Sehobo, or Bula Sehobo. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. Sehobo, Bula Sehobo. And information officer, Mr. L. Ngume, for their dedication and commitment on adoption in terms of Rule 117, 2 of C, read with Rule 164. The Portfolio Committee on COCTA and eGov recommends that the report of COCTA Annual Oversight Report for the 2021-22 financial year be adopted, considering the committee comments and proposed recommendations made in the report.
Any seconder to the report?
I second, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Mekgwe seconding. I now put a question. All those in favor say yes. Yes. All not in favor say no. The yes have it. The report is adopted by the House. Can we have the next order?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The next order of the day is debate on the annual report of the Department of Human Settlement, including the entity for 2021-2022 financial year. Thank you.
Honorable Schneeman.
Madam Speaker, I think I'm due to speak last in the debate, according to the speakers list. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I have the old, let's start with Honorable du Plessis. I have the old. Honorable du Plessis.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The department had difficulties in collecting revenue from department-owned properties and other sources of minor revenue due to the reluctance of occupants of rental properties to pay for services provided and others' inability to pay. In answer to this, the department has decided to transfer the ownership of these properties to the beneficiaries who qualify and was approved. But herein lies the problem. The properties that we visited in places such as Eldorado Park are dilapidated with structural defects, mold on the inside walls, and newly added plumbing that is inadequate. Therefore, I want to urge the department to assist these tenants to first bring these properties back to standard and not only dump the properties on them, as we all realize that these people do not have the resources to make that difference. Although the department has spent 95.1% of its budget to date, this is not reflected in their delivery and performance. The department had a planned target of 51, of which only 14 targets were achieved, amounting to 27%, and 7 programs amounting to 40% that were partially achieved. This means that although the department has spent 95.1% of its budget, it has not achieved 30 of its planned targets, which are 59%. Now that makes no sense at all. In the period under review, no skilled or unskilled jobs were created from departmental grants, which is also a very bad reflection on the department that sits within a country and a province where youth unemployment is rife. The department also did not reach the targets of its revised organizational structure that were approved by the Department of Public Service and Administration and are still in draft form. Then a couple of interesting facts that the report reveals. The department did not complete any draft research reports. The department did not develop any new policies. The department did not facilitate even one hostel to be approved under the Environmental Impact Assessment Project. The department failed to identify even one priority housing development area out of a target of 9. The department did not formalize one township out of a target of 55. Yes, you heard correctly. That is 0 out of 55 townships that were formalized. If one reads through the report, these type of deficiencies keeps on raising their head. On irregular expenditure, the department incurred 191.2 million rands worth and 1.6 million in fruitless and wasteful expenditure. I think it is clear to see that the Department of Human Settlements is as close to delinquent as one can get. A department that has the mandate and the opportunity to make a huge difference in so many of our people's lives in Gauteng. It is therefore necessary that intervention in this department takes place fast and efficiently, as at this point in time, it's a disgrace to the Gauteng Legislature. I thank you.
Honorable Ntombi.
Honorable Speaker, with all protocol observed, in an overview of the operations of the department in the 2021-2022 financial year, the accounting officers considered that this department continues to have serious challenges of hostel redeployment, urban renewal, beneficiary administration, informal settlements upgrading, as well as housing units which remain incomplete, abandoned, and blocked. We have in the past reiterated our position that as the EFF, we can only assess the Department of Human Settlements on how it is fulfilling its constitutional mandate of providing access to adequate housing as demanded by Chapter 2, Section 26 of the Constitution. For the 2021-2022 financial year, the department spent 95.2% of the allocated budget, whereas in the 2020-2021 financial year, it spent 95.7% of the allocated funds. From where we are sitting, we want to believe that the department has only met 14 of the 51 targets for the year under review, not what the account officers putting on the table for the people of Gauteng. Speaker, we would like to put it to this House that out of a budget allocation of more than 5.9 billion for the 2021-2022 financial year, not a single hostel was converted into a family unit, whereas the target for the year was set 88. Moreover, not a single hostel was redeveloped and no paying tenders at all. There are excuse delays in the finalization of procurement process. Honorable Speaker, the less said about the urban renewal projects, the better. The department does not have a plan to deal with these capital projects, despite millions of rand pumped in and already being spent. It would be advisable that the department put these urban renewal projects on hold until a new government of the people takes over in 2024, wherein there will be a well-thought conceptualization of the challenges faced by these identified committees. We cannot continue to witness monies being allocated and spend for those communities year in and year out with nothing tangible coming out of such intervention expenditures. It can never be correct that a department that is regarded as a service delivery department continuously underspend the allocated budget. For the 2021-2022 financial alone, the department underspent the budget by more than 286 million rand. Yet the province is faced with serious challenges of housing backlogs and informal settlements. We want to make it be known to this House and the people of Gauteng in general, including our communities who are stuck in informal settlement in this province, that the department has failed to spend in excess of 236.9 million in conditional grants, which was meant to upgrade informal settlements in the province. They furthermore failed to spend in excess of 17 million of the Human Settlement Development Grant. Speaker, this cannot only be attributed to poor financial management within the department. We want to believe that the problem lies solely with lack of capacity in this department. The department does not have requisite skills, capability and capacity on how to draw proper plans to use the grants allocated for the people of this province. The least said about fees, the better. Of all the targeted apps, not even a single one was achieved, and yet the demand for such market is used. Actually, they targeted 367 with zero non-achievement, and expectations are still being raised while knowing very well that they won't be realized. It is clear that the Office of the Premier as well as the Treasury have failed to exercise oversight because not even a single person was held accountable for denying our people their basic human right. Consequence management is a foreign concept in this administration. Speaker, it is really discouraging that the department is failing to achieve its set targets. It becomes more painful when the departments fail to execute its core function of housing development. The mega, legacy and block projects suffers the most. With such a huge housing backlog, the department has failed to service the mega project stands. It has failed to complete the mega project housing units as well as completing the legacy project housing units. Yet, when people start to occupy the unoccupied structures and land, the department is quick to waste resources on red ends to evict our people. It is time the department has incurred an additional fruitless and wasteful expenditure amount to 1.6 million in the 2021-2022 financial year, which 896,000 must go to the rest end. This is absolute madness for this department to play with the emotions of the poor and vulnerable people, African people in this province. If people are no longer prepared to service our people, they must just resign and walk away, finished and clear. This can no longer be allowed to continue after 20 years of the so-called democracy. The Gauteng residents can no longer afford the same old excuses of service delivery protests and service providers who fail to complete projects. We've been saying it since 2014 that the state must build its own capacity and abolish the use of service providers. And thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Shirota.
Madam Speaker, every year at this time, the submission of annual reports to the Department provides an opportunity to examine whether targets have been reached, whether outcomes have been obtained, and most importantly, whether their service delivery objectives have been achieved. The Department of Human Settlements continues to fail to reach any of its targets despite a comprehensive turnaround strategy. This can be attributed to a lack of effective leadership, absent political and operational accountability, poor and exaggerated goal setting, inefficient controls, deficiencies in institutional knowledge, ineffective capacitation and training, and little or no consequent management. I observe that in its shortcomings, the Department lacks direction and cohesion and is thus unable to perform its core mandate. Many projects across the province are incomplete and there is a continued irregularity of underspending while there are key vacant positions within the Department. An observation of this dual phenomenon reflects an erratic and disjointed approach regarding the planning and implementation of projects. There needs to be a review of the staffing and organisational structure within the Department and a reassessment of how political and operational accountability is monitored and managed. The failure to spend 236 million during the 21-22 financial year on various projects is reflective of a systemic practice of underspending. More shockingly, in the second quarter of 2022-23, where there is not only continued underspending, but is now reported under Programme 3 that there's an overspending of 68%, an amount of nearly 1 billion in circumstances where the progress in reaching targets has declined. 0 targets achieved are being reported in many programs. This indicates a serious regression in performance and would seem to indicate a serious lack of planning and implementation abilities. The serious lack of capacitation in senior management needs to be addressed. The DA is mindful of the challenges that MEC and the department face. However, there is no indication that senior management have been subjected to lifestyle audits or held to account for failures to reach performance targets, which would assist in determining shortcomings within the department. The department is unable to achieve its primary goal of promoting and facilitating the provision of adequate housing. Analysis of the Human Settlements Committee's oversight report reflects the department continue to fall short of almost all its targets, a department whose performance and outcomes continue to decline from year to year. There are more than 350 block delayed and incomplete housing projects in Gauteng waiting for completion. This clearly indicates the inability of the department to ensure that contractors deliver houses on time and with budget. A fundamental problem in the appointment and holding of contractors to account remains a core reason for the poor completion of housing projects. In the past 2 months, I have visited many projects where contractors have disappeared and the property has been vandalized and destroyed. There needs to be a process which ensures these contractors are employed based on their ability to do their work efficiently, effectively and on time. The departments must almost monitor their progress throughout the contractual period with suitable checks and balances employed. The DA proposes the initiation of a multi-party project subcommittee which will facilitate the driving, monitoring and implementation of projects such as the renewal projects, the upgrading of hostels and the rapid land release program. This can be accelerated through the fast-tracking of Level 3 accreditation to municipalities in Gauteng and the introduction of incentives to attract significant private sector involvement in housing delivery. This will include employment, where necessary, of outside consultants to advise on intergovernmental interaction, planning implementation, and the providing of expertise in the role of mega housing projects and the role of the Gauteng Partnership Fund in this process. Operational staff must be more effectively monitored and held accountable for timelines, planning, and target deadlines. The effectiveness of the oversight powers of the Human Settlements Committee needs to be re-examined and assessed to capacitate such committees to exercise the oversight role. In order to ensure more effective capacitation within the department, lifestyle audits must be introduced and performance management targets strictly adhered to. The failure of the MEC and the department to accept these shortcomings will certainly ensure a further decline in performance and accelerate its inability to carry out its core mandate. Thank you, Speaker.
Honourable Schneemann.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, Honourable Premier, MEC Maile and all MECs present both in the House and online, Honourable members of this House. It was exactly a year ago today when we debated the annual report for the 2020-2021 financial year. And it suddenly dawned on me as I was doing my speech that it was a year ago today that I participated in the same debate. The guiding document for the period 2019 to 2024 is the election manifesto of the African National Congress. The following is an extract from the ANC's manifesto. I quote, since 1994, over 3.2 million free houses have been built, benefiting over 14 million people. This has meant a massive extension of home ownership, growing the productive assets of our people. In the recent period, we have been hard at work to ensure that more and more South Africans live closer to economic opportunities and that we eventually overcome the race-based spatial separation of our people inherited from apartheid. Close quote. The manifesto of the ANC goes on to say the following, and I want to quote as well. We will work closely with the private sector to develop major development projects that brings together economic nodes, human settlements, smart technologies, and public transportation that impact on spatial transformation. These include at least one new South African city of the future. Transform the property market to promote access to urban opportunity and social integration through access to well-located, affordable housing and decent shelter, thereby reversing urban fragmentation and highly inefficient sprawl. Release land at the disposal of the state for site and service to afford households the opportunity to build and own their own homes, close quote. I have referred to the ANC manifesto because it outlines the plans of the ANC for its 5-year term of governance. Very clear plans, not like the rhetoric of the DA who only tell us about 2024. And yet when you drill down, the municipalities they govern, or rather co-govern in Gauteng, are nothing short of a disaster. In his foreword to the annual report we are debating, MEC Maile says, and I quote, addressing the challenge of turning poorly performing organizations around, management and leadership expert Marcus Buckingham made the following observations, quote, "The difference between a pebble and a mountain lies in whom you ask to move it," close quote. In order to turn around the performance of the department and make the systemic and process improvements that will enable it to accomplish its mandate and accelerate housing delivery, one of the critical exercises we have had to embark on is that of looking at building internal capacity within the organisation. There are still many problems and stubborn bottlenecks to overcome as we continue to work at turning the department's performance around. But in confronting all these challenges and bottlenecks head-on, we must constantly remind ourselves of the words of author Haley Long, quote, "We can't calm waves, but we can steer the ship," close quote. The waves are still huge, but the ship is gradually, systematically steered in the right direction at the Gauteng Department of Human Settlements, close quote. The commitment made by the HOD, Ms. Pandile Mbanjwa, in her report to the annual report is as follows and is welcomed, and I want to quote that. The department has resorted to overhaul its approach to the implementation of supply chain management processes. The department has also commissioned an independent analysis of its performance, target setting and related areas. The whole intention is to ensure that in the 2022-2023 financial year, some remarkable progress in performance is realised by the department, especially in the areas that it has control over, close quote. This is an opportunity to reflect on the progress made in the past financial year and also to assess where we are today in terms of the implementation of the Human Settlements Programme in Gauteng. The department has a full complement of the executive management team for the first time in over 5 years. This is welcome news, and we trust that the executive management team of the department will take the housing programme forward and that in the current financial year, we will see a significantly improved performance. We need to use this opportunity to take stock and determine the progress made in this financial year under review as opposed to the 2020-2021 financial year. There are clear indications that the department is turning the corner after the serious disruptions caused by COVID-19. Had the world not been hit by this deadly virus, including our own country, I am sure significant progress would have been made by now. The following are a few examples of how the department is heading in the right direction. Governance has been enhanced as over 50 policies have been either reviewed or approved since the 2019 financial year. In terms of breaking new ground, housing units that have been delivered in the 2020-21 financial year, 28,979 were delivered, and in the 2021-2022 financial year, 30,962 were delivered. In terms of total sites delivered, in the 2020-21 financial year, 30,377 were delivered, and in the 2021-2022 financial year, 34,029 were delivered. In terms of title deeds registered, in the 2020-21 financial year, 23,647 were registered, and in the 2021-2022 financial year, 27,064 were registered. And I've raised this just to indicate that the department is making progress, maybe not entirely to everybody's satisfaction, but it certainly is making progress and starting to turn that corner. Whilst there have been successes, the inability of the department to meet the targets which they have set is cause for concern. It seems that the targets are at times set too high and are then transferred to the following year. The Department of Human Settlements in Gauteng really needs to focus on this and ensure that in the current financial year, a significant improvement is realised. Of particular concern is the inability of the department to meet its targets on spending directed towards women, youth and persons with disabilities. Again, the department needs to place specific emphasis on meeting these targets in the current financial year. Some of the targets which the department was able to achieve in the financial year or the annual report that we're discussing today include the following: 70% of material misstatements addressed towards an unqualified audit opinion, 4 global risk response action plans updated, 1 Gauteng multi-year project pipeline / project bank reviewed, 18 policies reviewed, one Gauteng Human Settlement Spatial Master Plan reviewed, one Gauteng multi-year project pipeline, project bank updated, 2,960 legacy project stands serviced, 8,639 mega project stands serviced, 6,157 mega projects housing units completed, 2,960 legacy project stands serviced, 3,195 title deeds registered. And I've raised these points here as well, particularly some of the members that have participated in this debate have basically made statements that no targets were achieved whatsoever. And whilst certainly the department is grappling with achieving its targets, it is incorrect and it is wrong to state that the department has not achieved targets. These are targets that the department has achieved. They are clearly stated in the annual report document that we've been given. And I would suggest to honourable members that you should read these documents, because if you read these documents, you will get information, and it's very different information to what some of you have. The Gauteng Partnership Fund's core mandate was expanded to include the implementation of mega human settlements, the Rapid Land Release Program, and the upgrading of informal settlements program. And this is certainly an innovative intervention. And I think we would all look forward to seeing the results of this change in the core mandate of the GPF. The GPF's improvement of its targets achieved over the previous year are also welcomed. The adjusted annual performance plan for 2022-23, which has just been tabled in the legislature, provides a clear indication of the seriousness and commitment to improving the housing delivery program. And again here, MEC Maile indicates the following in his foreword to the adjusted annual performance plan. And I quote, "We want to focus on completing all abandoned and incomplete projects, rolling out our groundbreaking Rapid Land Release Program, improving the scale and impact of mega project delivery, turning our hostels into family units with a novel sectional title model, upgrading our informal settlements, and ensuring we fast-track title deeds handover amongst our other priorities," close quote. With regards to abandoned and incomplete projects, one welcomes the indication that was given by MEC Maile to us in our portfolio committee when we were discussing the annual report. And he indicated to us that they will be looking at appointing contractors where a particular contractor would get a certain number of abandoned or incomplete projects to complete. And it's an innovative idea, and we welcome that. The idea of appointing a single contractor for a number of projects is being considered, and certainly we hope to see the rollout of this and to start to see a mass completion of incomplete and abandoned projects, which, by the way, are legacy projects that have been landed up with this administration in 2019. And this administration is clearly demonstrating that they are trying to deal with these and to complete these projects. The head of department indicates in the adjusted annual performance plan in the current financial year that there will be a focus on improving delivery around blocked and abandoned projects. Priority for housing allocation will continue to be the 1996-1999 applicants, persons with disabilities, child-headed households and military veterans, the title deed backlog amongst others. She also indicated that over the next 2 years, the focus will be on the following: completion of all abandoned and blocked projects, redevelopment of hostels to family units, improved implementation of the upgrading of informal settlements program, resuscitation of the urban renewal programs, continued upscaling of mega projects, accelerated implementation of the Rapid Land Lease project. In addition, it's also indicated that over the next 2 financial years, the department plans to complete, well, I think I've raised that already, my apologies. Whilst these intentions are certainly welcomed, it will require dedication and commitment from all officials in the Department of Human Settlements in Gauteng. And it will require dedication and commitment from all senior management and will require the extra mile at all times. Perhaps given the enormity of the need for the peoples of Gauteng, of the needs for the peoples of Gauteng, innovative and far-reaching interventions will be required. And a particular example I want to raise, and perhaps it's something that we may need to be considering in the future. In China, the construction industry works 24 hours a day and every day of the week and doesn't stop. And perhaps such interventions, such innovative interventions, should be considered so that we're able to make a big dent and a huge impact in terms of our housing delivery program. I want to conclude by just saying that the following, and raise the following. Honourable Msimanga, let me state it very clearly. The city of Johannesburg, under the DA, is falling apart. The ward I live in, and you must listen to this, the ward I live in has a DA councillor who is highly ineffective, is unavailable to residents of the ward. And I'll take you there today and you can ask them yourself. The DA councillor often deletes messages of residents who complain on his chat group and often blocks residents from commenting. That is censorship of the highest order. To Member Du Plessis, township formalisation is not dependent on the Department of Human Settlements alone. Municipalities have a key role to play. And in fact, Member Du Plessis, if you were listening to MEC Maile in the Portfolio Committee on the annual report, you would have heard him clearly state that municipalities play a critical role in the township formalisation process. So I just wanted to highlight that to you. Member Ledwaba, you are correct, Member Ledwaba. There will be a new government in 2024. It will be a new ANC government, as the ANC will emerge victorious in 2024. On that note, I thank you, Speaker.
Honourable Maile, can you respond to the debate?
Yes, Honourable Speaker. Thank you very much. And we'd like to note all the members who participated and contributed in the debate. We will also like to take this opportunity to thank those members, especially Member Suniman, for his constructive contribution in the debate, because a lot of issues that members are raising are issues that one has raised and clarified over and over again. And I sometimes ask myself whether members of the opposition lacks comprehension, understanding, or is just being deliberately being disingenuous, because some of the issues that they're raising do not arise at all. And we have been able, as a department, demonstrated resilience and agility in sustaining operations and service delivery during a tough period that was affected by COVID-19. And this is despite the fact that, as we have previously indicated, there's been a lot of systematic weaknesses that we had to deal with in the department. And the pandemic added intense pressure to an already shrinking economy, as we all know, and there was a disruption of supply chain access to industrial components and manufactured goods, especially steel. And this has a direct bearing on the sector that we are in. So we and maybe let me deal with specific issues so that I am not just generic. You know, Member Du Plessis raises the issue of revenue collection and the fact that there are properties that we want to transfer, and correctly so, because we spend about 125 million rand every year paying for rates and taxes of houses that are occupied by individuals. And I'm sure if he understands the challenges that we face, he would appreciate and understand the importance of redirecting that 125 million to other important services that we're supposed to give to our people. So that's a very important step that we must take. And instead of encouraging people not to take this sectional title ownership, as the opposition, they must be participating in helping us to convince people to take this so that we can be able to redirect these resources that are very limited. And as I've said, the issue of comprehension, because I don't know what the member is talking about when he refers to an organizational structure that's approved. We don't have an approved, and I dealt with this in the portfolio committee. But another example of lack of comprehension and understanding, the issue of formalization of townships. I don't know why you keep raising it. We put it in our, there are targets that are wholly dependent on us, and there are targets that are dependent on other external stakeholders in most cases. And this is one such target which is dependent on municipalities. As you know, and I don't know if you know something called SPLUMA, and you will know that issues of planning are primarily functions of municipalities, or rather competencies. And formalization of townships can be done without municipalities. I've explained this process, and I've even explained through a demonstration of what it means to formalize a township. And for as long as we have not formalized the township, you will not be able to issue title deeds. So this target affects other targets. So the members of the opposition in the committee constantly are failing to grasp and to understand the issues that we are dealing with. And that's why when they debate, they are off the mark, they're irrelevant, and they're raising issues that are not helpful to the debate. It's a pity that we are forced to respond to the debate, but otherwise, some of the issues you are raising are just off the mark, including what Honorable Ledwaba raises. And consistently, I explained to him and the committee this concept of, and maybe just don't call it urban renewal program, just call it development, because there must be water, there must be electricity, there must be houses, there must be schools, there must be other amenities. And this is what we are talking about. And I did explain to him and the committee that when we go into an area, we would want all departments to come to the party, and that there's been some weaknesses in a number of areas in terms of getting everyone to come on board. And I also explained that FLISP, it's a program that is managed on our behalf by a national entity, NHFC, which I think we would have to reconsider. So you are saying they've not reached any targets. Ourselves, we've raised that issue, but you still don't understand. I don't know what is difficult in understanding all these issues. And then you are talking about the mega and legacy housing units. We have told you over and over again. I always take time when I have when I'm in the committee to explain and at least share the limited knowledge that one has on these issues in terms of how do we want to tackle them, what has been the weaknesses. And we did say, because anyway, all these legacies, the reason they're called legacies, because they're old projects, they're old, very old. And we did say that these projects are at different stages. Some of them are still at the foundation, others at the whole plate, others have roofs but don't have windows and all that. And we explained that every financial year, we appoint contractors to complete these projects. And in most cases, contractors pull out because of the scope of these projects. And hence, we have decided that we want to extend the scope by combining these projects so that you don't appoint a person to do 2 houses or 3 houses, but you appoint them to do 1,000, for instance, which will be able to help contractors to be able to reach some of their targets as well and be able to move quickly. I mean, it's the same issue that Member Sirota is raising. We have said to the committee, these are historic. There is no recent, and I actually put my head on the block and said, since 2019, there has not been any incomplete project, Member Sirota. At least that is implemented by ourselves. And in fact, what do you think it's innovation, which is the accreditation of municipalities to level 3. It's actually not helpful. Most of the projects that we are still dealing with now are projects that were implemented by municipalities. We have given, especially the metros, a lot of resources, and they've still not accounted on how those resources have been utilized and the targets. And you are contradicting yourself, because we're talking about operational and political accountability. But at the same time, you want us to give municipalities money when there's been serious weaknesses previously on these issues. Then you're talking about issues of lifestyle audit. I don't know how do these relate to delivery and capacity of senior managers. So you are just all over the show. It's unfortunate that it seems my time has come to an end. But what Member Schneemann is raising on all the time we have achieved demonstrates that we are focused and we are a government at work to improve the lives of our people, and will not be deterred by destructive and unfocused and elements who don't understand what we are dealing with. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
You didn't say anything.
Thank you. That concludes the debate. Can you go to the next order?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The next order of the day is consideration of the Human Settlement Portfolio Committee Oversight Report on the annual report of the Department of Human Settlement and its entities for the year 2021-2022 financial year. Thank you.
Honourable Ndlovana.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I, Honourable Alfina Ndlovana, Chairperson, Human Settlement Portfolio Committee, tables the committee oversight report on the Gauteng Department of Human Settlement annual report for the 2020-21-2022 financial year as follows. The vote 8 allocation expenditure trends against the adjusted appropriation and final appropriation of 5,966.126 billion for the year 2021-2022 financial year across the department for key programs highlighting under and over expenditure incurred. The department's total expenditure for the period ending 31st March 2021 was 5.679,450 billion, recording an underspending of 286.676 million of the total allocation. The department spent 95% of the budget allocation in the 2021-2022 financial year. The 95% expenditure as at the end of the financial year is within the PFMA regulation. However, that the remaining 5% will have made a huge difference in delivering services to the people. This also raises a concern as to whether the additional 73 million in rollover was necessary during the budget allocation. The department expenditure per program in the 2020-2021 financial year was as follows. Program 1, Administration, the final allocation for the program was 543.53 million. The total expenditure for Program 1 remaining 524.423 million, translated to 97% by the end of the financial year under review. This reflects and under expenditure amounting to 19.090 million. Program 2, Housing Needs Planning and Research. The allocation for this program was 19.062 million. It is reported that the actual expenditure incurred was 13.562 million, translated to 17%, reflecting an under expenditure amounting to 5.5 million. Program 3, Housing Development. The voted allocation for this program was 5.211.295 billion. It is reported that the actual expenditure incurred was 4.97.272 billion, translated to 96%, reflecting an under expenditure amounting to 236.20 million. Program 4, Housing Asset Management and Properties Management. The voted allocation for this program was 192.256 million. It is reported that the actual expenditure incurred was 166.193 million, translated to 86%, reflecting an under expenditure amounting to 26.60 million. The Portfolio Committee noted that for this financial year, 2021-2022 financial year, the department received a qualified audit opinion. This is concerning as it seems as if the department is not committed to work towards achieving a clean audit. The Gauteng Partnership Fund has expanded its core mandate to include the implementation of mega human settlement, the rapid land release program, and the upgrading informal settlement program. The GPF has achieved 62.5% of the target set in the 2021-2022 financial year annual performance plan, compared to 43.7% that was achieved in the previous year. If we look into the financial performance in the year under review, the total operating budget was 89.4 million. This was revised downwards to 82.4 million at the mid-year, in line with the operating condition. The GPF spent 98% of the adjusted budget, which equates to 80.7 million. The portfolio should note that the Gauteng Partnership Fund obtained an unqualified audit opinion with findings. Furthermore, the committee noted that there was no report on the Gauteng Housing Fund. This is regardless of the agency receiving funds from the Gauteng Department of Human Settlement. The agency has in the past submitted its performance to the Portfolio Committee and the Auditor General's finding. In 2019-2020 financial year, the Housing Fund received a disclaimer audit opinion. Furthermore, the Portfolio Committee noted that the department spent 95% of its appropriate at the end of the year under review, which is slight decline if compared to previous financial year expenditure of 95.9%. In terms of the non-financial performance, the department is planned a total of 51 targets. 14 of these targets, 25% were achieved, 7%, 14% were partially achieved, 59% of targets were not achieved. This is always no correlation between the non-financial performance and the financial performance of the department. This could be because of the nature of the job of the department that require a PRT first to be employed before the actual contractor is employed. This leads to the department spending a huge chunk of its budget on PRT than on the actual building houses. The shift from unqualified audit opinion in the previous year to qualified audit opinion in the financial year under review is a cause of concern. The Portfolio Committee has been raising concern with the target by the department. The department set a high target that are not achievable, and this unachievable target keeps being moved to the next financial year. Honourable Speaker, on committee concern and recommendation, the Portfolio Committee is concerned with the finding contained in the Auditor General report The Portfolio Committee noted that the department has spent 95% of its annual budget, whereas planned targets on APPs were not achieved. The Portfolio Committee remained concerned on considering people with disability for employment and empowerment opportunity. The Portfolio Committee noted that with concern that most of the completed housing projects have been abandoned. The committee remains concerned that on a priority housing development areas, the department planned target was 9 and this was not achieved. During the oversight visit, the committee noted that there is a conflict regarding stand number 11738/11 house in Kagiso Extension 3. Committee recommendation: the department should provide on how they intended to respond on the Auditor General finding and implementation its recommendation. The department should submit a breakdown on all achieved targets on the APP and how much was spent for oversight purposes. The department should make a concerted effort in considering people with disability for employment, empowerment opportunity, and work with community organizations that cater for people with disability in this regard. The department should submit a detailed report on how many housing projects were completed and abandoned, unfinished, and what steps the department is taking to resolve. The department should provide reason of non-achievement on the set target and submit a list of priority housing development for oversight purposes. The department should intervene on stand number 11738/11 house in Kagiso and provide a portfolio with the report. All this must be submitted by the 31st of January 2023. On acknowledgement, the Portfolio Committee Chairperson will wish to thank the MEC and the head of department and their team, and also the Chairperson further wish to acknowledge and express her gratitude to the honorable members of the Portfolio Committee for their commitment in their work. And furthermore, the Portfolio Committee would like to express appreciation to the contribution of the support staff members for their dedication and commitment. On adoption, in terms of Rule 117 subsection 2C, read with Rule 164, the Portfolio Committee on Human Settlement present to the House the Committee Oversight Report on the Gauteng Department of Human Settlement Annual Report for 2021-2022 financial year for adoption, taking into account the concern and proposed recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any seconder to the report?
Madam Speaker, I rise to second. Honorable Malema, thank you very much.
Honorable Malema seconding. I now put a question. All those in favor say yes. Yes. All not in favor say no. The ayes have it. The report is adopted by the House. Can we have the next order?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The next order of the day is debate on the annual report of the Department of Health and Wellness, including its entity for the year 2021-2022 financial year. Thank you.
Honorable Mabunda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Premier, MECs, Chief Whip of the Majority Party, honorable members. Every year on the 1st of December, most people across the world take a moment to reflect on how far we've come since the early days of the AIDS pandemic. South Africa continuously joined the global community to observe World AIDS Day. As this House, we also have a responsibility to all those who have lost their lives because of the pandemic. We remember the fear, the stigma, and how hard people with HIV had to fight to be seen or heard or to be treated with basic compassion. Today, that picture is transformed thanks to the courage and love of so many of you in this room and House around the world. The United Nations urges people around the world to unite in showing support for people living with and affected by HIV, but also to remember those who lost their lives. Although great strides have been made in decreasing the infection rate, South Africa is still leading in the number of new infections in the world. and Gauteng is within those provinces leading the chart in terms of infections. The ANC remain committed to the fight against HIV and AIDS. We will continue to stand with those affected every step of the journey until we reach that day, which we know is possible, when all men and women can protect themselves from infection, a day when all people with HIV have access to the treatment that extend their lives, the day when there are no babies being born with HIV or AIDS, and when we achieve an AIDS-free generation. That's the world we want for our children and families, MEC. Gauteng account to 18% of HIV and AIDS mortalities in the country in the period between 1st December 2021 to the 1st December 2022. Every year, World AIDS Day has a theme, and this year the theme of World AIDS Day is Equalize, by which the UN AIDS is urging each of us to address the inequalities which are holding back progress in ending the pandemic. It is important to note that Gauteng Department of Health has, in the last period under review, performed HIV tests in our health facilities that exceed the set target. A job well done, MEC Nkomorale. The department must continue in its critical path as part of its core function to save lives. Although, as the ANC, we appreciate the work done around the HIV and AIDS, we also think the TB prevention and cure must not be relegated to the lower level of priority diseases. That needs the provincial health care attention and in need of appreciable facilities. We must work together to get TB control back on track. We must continue getting patients diagnosed with TB enrolled on treatment to finish their course. We must again applaud the Department of Health in the province in that all the challenges that, and we must applaud the department in that above all the challenges they have could successfully get more than 4,154 patients to complete their treatment on the set 12 months period. The above achievements are indicative of the ANC commitment to government strategy of growing Gauteng together to achieve Gauteng we want for 2030, wherein everyone will have access to quality health care in the province and achieve the delivery of HIV and TB 90-90-90 targets, which is 90% of patients knowing their status, 90% of patients receiving treatment, 90% of patients with viral load suppressed. The success of antiretroviral therapy has drastically reduced mother-to-child HIV transmission in our province to 0.53%, which is close to our target of 0%. MEC, this is our ideal world. The Department of Health expenditure of the appropriated budget for the period under review is of concern. The department must continuously review and strengthen its spending pattern, MEC. The department must also continue its plan of reducing the medico-legal expenditure. It is also understandable that the escalation of the medico-legal cost is beyond the control of the department or at times inevitable. But as the ANC, we encourage the department to continue with the mediation strategy as part of controlling what is ultimately paid out. The health department is responsible for the overall health and well-being of the communities with particular focus on general health and wellness, treatment and care to members of the communities. Nonetheless, our health facilities needs attention. The department must continuously review and strengthen its spending pattern on infrastructure, including the processing and payment of invoices within 30 days. With that said, this House has just recently adopted the Township Economy Act, which amongst its intention is to reform the status quo regarding the planning and role of the provincial government to provide conducive environment for township economic renewal. The Department of Health has had a decline in the percentage of the budget spent on township enterprises. The department must be applauded for achieving 90% realization of the ideal clinic status in the province to the set target. There is a total of 38 CHC providing 24-hour services in the province. Of the 36 CHCs, 11 are in Johannesburg, 10 are in Tshwane, 9 in Ekurhuleni, 3 in Sidibeng, and 3 in the West Rand. Furthermore, MEC Nkomo Ralihoko, as the ANC, we continue to applaud the good work done by the department, which we think will retrospectively extend to the men and women in the department who are doing this good work, particularly on the work done to patients with hypertension and diabetes. The number of patients who have been screened for both hypertension and diabetes has increased when compared to the previous year, an indicator to health living and saving lives. The health department truly is responsible for the health and well-being of the communities. Furthermore, Gauteng population life expectancy has now improved. Females have now a life expectancy of 69 years opposed to males who now have a life expectancy of 64 years, an increase from 61 years for women and 57 years for men in the previous years. Infrastructure is a key pillar supporting the fundamental aim of promoting improved standards of care and well-being for all patients, together with a good experience of the healthcare system. Therefore, MEC, irrespective of the fact that most, if not all, the department infrastructure is executed through the implementing agent, the Department of Health remains responsible to ensuring that our provincial health facilities in the list comply with the OHS requirements. The department must mobilize technical capacity that will ensure that the department deficit of project management and planning is challenges of the past. There must be a new approach to deal with maintenance challenges in our facilities. Our provincial patient experience to our health facilities paints a different picture contrary to the known intention and commitment of the Department of Health. Preventative maintenance in a hospital setting systems must be up and running 24 hours to make it comfortable and safe for patients and employees. It is our view, MEC, that the department continue to implement or put in place strategic intervention plan to improve its audit outcome, revenue management, and risk management. The department must continue to implement consequence management on those responsible for the non-adherence to supply chain management policies and procedures when procuring goods and services as required by Treasury regulations. The World Health Organization 13th General Assembly of Work sets in stone measurable goals for the work of World Health Organization, with its 3 target of 1 billion more people benefiting from universal health coverage, 1 billion more people protected from health emergencies, and 1 billion more enjoying better health and well-being. To contribute to the achievement of these goals, WHO is supporting the integration of rehabilitation into health system and strengthening its availability at all levels of health care. Strengthening rehabilitation requires considerable planning and decision-making in countries, and this should be underpinned with quality data and information. Therefore, a key action is required for the successful strengthening of the health information system in the province. The Department of Health has been implementing this health information system, which is an upgrade from the previous way of keeping patient records to help improve service delivery and quality of health care in the province. The health information system should achieve, amongst others, reducing long waiting times in hospitals and community health care centers. The conclusion to implement the system in most of our health facilities is of absolute urgency, MEC. The feedback that emanates from the health facilities that have already concluded implementing the system is positive. Therefore, necessary to speed up the rolling out and conclusion of the implementation of this system. The African National Congress Social Transformation Agenda is part of the continuing journey of social change that began in 1994 when we entered into social contract in the form of the RDP, through which we sought to create a better life for all, so that together we can create a South Africa that truly belongs to all who live in it, as articulated in the Freedom Charter. Our vision and commitment are clearly stated in the National Development Plan, that in 2030, the National Development Plan provides a vision for strengthening the healthcare system, which will ensure that it is efficient and responsive and offers financial risk protection. Considering that as the ANC-led government has a responsibility to transform our health facilities and improve the patient experience in the province, and despite numerous challenges that continue to confront the Department of Health, progress has been and continues to be made. As I conclude, allow me to quote Benjamin Carson when he says, "Healthcare is 1/6 of our economy. If the government can control that, they can control just about everything." We need to understand what is going on, because there are much more economic models that can be used to give us good health care than what we have now. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Bloom.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. This is the 29th time that I'm speaking on the annual report of the Gauteng Health Department. You know, the depressing thing is that I looked at my speech from last year and nothing much has changed. I could repeat it with just a few small changes to the figures and, you know, my previous speeches as well. Same thing is wrong in this department every year. The failures I pointed out are still there, and they've been there for many years now. We all know the dire need to fix our hospitals, but yet again there's a large underspend. Just wait for this figure, 2.6 billion rand compared to 1.1 billion rand the previous year. I mean, that's a huge amount of money, 2.6 billion rand. There's some departments that don't have those larger budget. All the departments' programs underspent. Despite crumbling and unsafe hospitals, the highest underspend was in health facilities management. 442 million rand wasn't spent, and believe it or not, 215 million rand of this is returned to Treasury, so we won't see it again. It was earmarked for occupational health and safety, which surely should be of prime importance to keep our hospitals safe for staff and patients. But what does this say about the competency in this department? The figure we're given is that out of 37 hospitals, 19, more than half, do not comply with basic occupational safety legislation. Now, every year there is a monstrous amount of accruals owing which has to be taken out of the current budget, and every year we are told that companies will be paid on time and the accruals will be cut down. The latest report is that only 41% of companies are paid within the legally required 30-day period, and the department is pleased with the progress because it used to be much lower. I've been hearing from a succession of premiers and health MECs how this department is going to be turned around. I've heard about task teams, I've heard about interventions, and I've heard about consultants. You would think that strong leadership was a priority to fix this department. But in the last 10 years, there have been 8 health MECs, 8 health MECs, which normally change them nearly every year, and 9 heads of department. And there are still too many people acting in senior positions. Now, last year, I expressed concern about the lack of progress in installing a health information system. We need this because otherwise we are flying blind. You need real-time information about spending and costs, and the patients need to be spared the horrors of lost paper files and long queues in our hospitals. Now, we're told the unachieved target is 6 out of 33 health centres and only 2 out of the 37 hospitals. But, you know, my skepticism is even higher than this. I really have doubts that anything's going to come from this. The chief contractor is a controversial company called Gajima. Google them and see what they've been involved in. And there's another company called Veritas Digital, which is embroiled in allegations of gross overcharging in Limpopo. You know, no surprise, the Auditor General has given his usual dismal report on the department, which had irregular expenditure of 2.6 billion rand, a large amount of money, and fruitless and wasteful expenditure of 17 million rand. And to this I would add the 500 million rand spent in the Anglo-Ashanti Hospital, which should also be classed as fruitless and wasteful spending, as well as the hundreds of alternative building technology wards that lie empty at various hospitals. You know, it's no surprise whatsoever, unfortunately, that the SIU is investigating the COVID expenditure. It's probably about 2 billion rand down the drain. Now, we need to ask why corruption scandals continue in this department. Why was Babita Deokaran murdered? She was an honest and competent official, but this was no doubt a threat to the criminal syndicates that abound in this department. The Tembisa hospital payment scandal was not uncovered by the department. In fact, the department attempted to cover up the fishy payments that Babita wanted to stop. And if it wasn't for intrepid journalists, we would never know the scale of the wasteful spending at this hospital. But it's not just Tembisa. It seems there's a similar scam at other hospitals as well. Just think about it. It's one thing to steal from a bank, but what kind of heartless person sees hospital budgets as an opportunity to enrich themselves? It seems to me that the reason why corruption continues in this department is because there's high-level political protection. We now know that Mr. Hangwani Morgan Mamela has scored well from contracts with the Tembisa Hospital and other hospitals. It amounts to 380 million rand in the last 3 years, and he has been described as the, quote, Don of the scandalous Tembisa hospital payments. He is a nephew of President Cyril Ramaphosa by his first marriage. The President says he doesn't remember him. And he is reportedly close to Mr. Bajane Chioke, the President's chief advisor, who is also candidate to be Treasurer of the ANC. Now, every week you'll read of a new revelation of contracts for grossly overpriced goods given to companies which exist only on paper. The Auditor General expresses concern about contracts awarded for goods and services above 500,000 rand without competitive bidding. But I think you should also look at where a lot of the crookery is taking place, is that there's split billing. So all the contracts are just under 500,000 rand and they're signed off by the hospital's CEO. And I'm now going to give specific examples from companies owned by Mr. Sela Sokoko, the Treasurer General of the ANC's Ekurhuleni region. According to official information, in the last 3 years, he has got nearly 100 million rand from 225 contracts to his 3 companies. Nice money. 3 companies, nearly 100 million rand. Not a single contract, isn't this fishy, is above 500,000 rand, and the department has admitted that his companies were non-compliant in various ways, but they still got the contract. Now, Mr. Sokoko has a company called Bonanoto Security. This company doesn't provide security, however, but it sells a wide range of goods at vastly inflated prices. And I'm going to give some examples. 1.88 million rand was paid for 108 rain suits of various sizes for men and women. This is 17,000 rand for each rain suit. Just go look on Takealot, you get it for a couple hundred rand each. Then they spent 196,000 rand on 17 V-neck jerseys. This is 11,500 rand per jersey. Why hospitals spending on rain suits and jerseys, I don't know. But this security company even sold printer cartridges for 11,000 rand each, about 10 times the retail price. And heaven knows why hospitals spend 294,000 rand on socks for Tokyo Sequali Primary School. It's here. It's in an official reply, Annexure A. It says here, what's got here? Yeah. Sock sizes 5 long Tokyo Sequali Primary, and then they got 6 long and all the prices. I mean, what on earth is going on here? I mean, were these socks even delivered? You know, I just think the whole thing's a scam. I mean, they just found a category that they could get money for, and what's the hospital doing with socks for Tokyo Sequali Primary? And then there's the security company sells food. It sells food. They spent 937,000 Rand on 1,920 kilogram of boerewors sausage. That's amount to 488 Rand per kilogram. Is anybody here who's going to spend 488 Rand per kilogram of boerewors sausage? Go down to your local supermarket, you can get boerewors easily for 100 Rand per kilogram. And yes, the security company also sold medical products, even though it's not registered with SA Health Products Regulatory Authority. I could go on and on with further examples of gross overcharging. It's all here and elsewhere. And yet the Honourable Health MEC says she won't blacklist companies until official investigations have concluded. You know, I think this is very weak when the evidence of price gouging is so obvious. Mr. Sokoko is obviously well known and popular in the ANC in Gauteng. Why do I not hear of any disciplinary action against him in his own party? Are people in the ANC not ashamed, or perhaps they enjoy the funding they get from him? This, to me, is the moral rot in the ruling party, whether it be in Kandla, or the Guptas, or Bosasa, or the millions of dollars stashed in the sofa at Pala Pala. It seems to me that this is the same moral rot that infects the Gauteng Health Department, where cadres are put in key positions so that self-enrichment continues while patients suffer in our hospitals. Now, there is a saying that a prisoner cannot set himself free from jail. And I think this is the problem with the ruling party, and this is the problem with the Gauteng Health Department. Only a change in government will rescue this department from its congenital poor management and its criminal syndicates. Unfortunately, I don't expect much good news in the next annual report or the one after it. But there is hope for much better news in the annual reports that follow under a non-ANC provincial government. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mabala.
Thank you very much, Acting Speaker. In all honesty, please note that my time is 9 minutes so that you don't stop me while I'm busy with my debate. In all honesty, the Gauteng Department of Health should be the custodian of a good quality health care in the province. However, the issues that were raised in the last annual report and the concerns regarding budget expenditure are still recurring even during the period under review. For this period, the department was allocated a whopping 59.6 billion as compared to the 58.8 billion it received in the 2021 financial year. The biggest budget allocation compared to other departments in this province. It is of great concern that the department continues to underspend the allocated budget despite the serious challenges that healthcare facilities in the province are faced with. During the last financial year, the department underspent the budget by over 1.1 billion. And for the period under review, the department underspent the allocated budget by over 2.57 billion. All the department service delivery programs were affected by this underspending. The accounting officer remains the backbone of the department, but as things stand, the accounting officer is failing to exercise an oversight responsibility on the core responsibilities of the department. It can never be correct that a department that is adequately funded still faces challenges of filling vacant posts and are unable to fix infrastructural problems at healthcare facilities, such as maintenance, rehabilitation, and completing projects. The accounting officer must take full responsibility for this poor planning. Acting Speaker, I truly hope the newly appointed political head, Honorable MEC Nkomora Lohoko, and the collective will turn things around. One of the major concerns is the department continued non-compliance with the Treasury regulations regarding procurement processes. Just a moment, my gadget is frozen. Okay, here we are. As I was saying, one of the major concerns is the department continued non-compliance with the Treasury regulations regarding procurement processes. In all annual reports, this problem is raised and nobody is ever been held accountable. The department is notorious for non-compliance. The Treasury regulations are clear that if goods and services procured are more than 500,000, competitive bidding processes must be undertaken. High Con, the department is having none of that. The Auditor General indicated that this was also reported in the prior year. It is on this basis that the EFF calls for building state capacity and governmental capacity, which will lead to the abolishment of tenders. Acting Speaker, tenders corrupt people irrespective of their positions. It should be noted that for the period under review, the department incurred an irregular expenditure amounting to 2.57 billion. And the AG reported that the majority of this irregular expenditure was caused by failure to invite competitive bids. All these are in non-compliance with the PFMA and Treasury regulations. As the EFF, we have always been vocal against corruption and corrupt deeds. This non-compliance is breeding ground for corruption. We strongly move that investigation into non-compliance be instituted. There's no way such transactions can be allowed and condoned. Would like to implore to this House to not just debate this annual report and not recommend and monitor if consequence management is strictly adhered to. The EFF despises corruption and we distance ourselves from any corrupt deeds. This House must protect the public purse to ensure the department deliver quality, long-lasting services and healthcare infrastructure. It must be noted that this public money is raised through taxes, majority of which comes from individuals and not corporations. Payments did not meet the 30-day deadline as required by Treasury regulations, and our own provincial treasury does not step in. So Gauteng province have no financial, no governance oversight. The AG noted that payables of 1.8 billion exceeded the payment term of 30 days, and this amount far exceeds the 1.1 billion of voted funds to be surrendered to the Treasury. This is an absolute joke. We are indeed in a dysfunctional state of affairs as far as this department is concerned. The AG noted that some contracts were awarded to suppliers whose tax numbers had not been declared by SARS. Some bidders do not even declare on whether employed by the state or connected to any person employed by the state. The accounting officer allowed this corruption to happen because deviations were also approved for contracts above 500,000 without inviting competitive bids, even though it was possible to do so. This is purely criminal. It is evident that this department is yet another example of a government department under the ANC government that runs on an autopilot. If the supply chain team has no skills for their work, it is no small wonder that roofs are collapsing and mentally ill patients dying, because the procurement of qualifying and skilled service providers is not a necessity for this department. Charity begins at home. It is worrying that Charlotte Mekgwe Academic Hospital remains not fully operational after being engulfed by fire last year. The department and its implementing agency, DID, are failing to complete the needed renovations to this hospital. But why are we surprised after all? Charlotte Mekgwe's roof once collapsed. It has recently been reported that Helen Joseph Hospital was declared a fire hazard by the city of Johannesburg way back in 2010, before the World Cup in South Africa. The report was kept a secret and never made public for fear of jeopardizing the FIFA World Cup in this country. For more than 10 years, this problem has never been attended to. The department is waiting for the loss of lives before acting, like it happened at the Bank of Lisbon building. That is why we have for many years advocated for state construction company to build internal capacity and to stop reliance on corrupt tenders. We would not need supply chain for the maintenance and renovation of infrastructure. The problems that this department is facing can also be attributed to poor planning, which has led to underspending of the budget. With such budget, the department should be doing better to service the people of Gauteng. Gauteng would not be having hospitals with shortages of bed linen, which seriously affect hospitals from performing surgical operations, such as it was reported at Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital. Acting Speaker, it should be noted that though the department seems unfazed by this poor financial planning, the people of Gauteng remain the biggest victims, including the overworked medical staff who sometimes have to bring food supplies for the patients because the department is failing to pay service providers. We have noted the departure of professionals with critical skills at our public health facilities. This is a matter of great concern because they are being victimized for speaking out on issues that affect the health of patients as well as theirs. The EFF is calling on the Premier to release the SIU report on the 588 billion of taxpayers' money that was spent on the renovation and refurbishment of the Anglo-Ashanti Hospital in the West Rand. Those who were involved on illegal activities and enriching themselves through corruption must face the full wrath of the law. The department is in such a mess because there is zero consequence management. Unlike her predecessors, we hope the new MEC...
In conclusion,
unlike her predecessors, we hope the new MEC and MEC Ralohuko will not be sleeping on duty, as most hospital boards are dysfunctional and hospital CEOs have made these public health institutions their own private properties. I thank you.
Honorable Du Plessis.
Sorry, Acting Speaker, just to note, it's N. Du Plessis and not E. Du Plessis, as on the speaker's list. I know we look the same, but you know. N. Du Plessis, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Acting Speaker. All protocol observed. There is a legal term, duty of care, which means a moral and legal obligation to ensure the safety and well-being of others. And the Democratic Alliance knows that this needs to be the blueprint for any public representative or government official, especially in healthcare. But on reading the annual report for 2021-22, one cannot see this. All you see is a celebration of mediocrity, excuses, sidesteps, and obfuscation of a humanitarian emergency. I take no pleasure in this speech, and I will take even less pleasure in the response to our speeches, as our speeches show the tip of the iceberg failure to provide access to basic health care over almost 30 years. And the responses will no doubt be filled with political language that takes little to no responsibility for the on-the-ground conditions. Let's be real. It's heartbreaking when the opposition's responsibility to find failures in a healthcare system is easy. The challenge was to narrow down the failures of gross negligence. There is a reported improvement in ambulance waiting times to an alleged and shocking 30 to 60 minutes. This is not an accomplishment, especially when the international standard is 80% within 15 minutes for life-threatening conditions. A reported amount of 1.6 billion was spent on the emergency services in this year, but on what? It's reported that it was for tracking of the fleet. However, when I went on unannounced oversight in various depots, the ambulances were used to transport staff, pick up cigarettes, and to do lunch runs. And no one could confirm the alleged 30 to 60 minutes waiting time. In fact, everybody reported it to be between 3 to 4 hours. The promised state-of-the-art Kopanong Hospital that cost the taxpayer 38 million rand in 2020 is still not completed. There is no roof, the walls are cracked, and the foundations are weakened as a result of exposure to the elements. And this is not an isolated example of a political promise that was not implemented and now, quite conveniently, forgotten about. Something needs to change. We receive multiple calls from patients who are waiting in emergency rooms with threatening diseases and injuries. Again, let's be real. We all know that the waiting times could range anything between 6 hours if you are lucky and 30 hours, regardless of what is written in reports. And the international standard is a minimum of an hour. What is the budget spent on? Medico-legal costs and claims in the billions. This is an immediate indicator that the system is failing or has failed. I'm further concerned that real claims are being ruled as frivolous as the outside consultants are paid on commission. I have not touched on the lack of patient records, nor the increase of suicide rates to over 90% more than the previous year. I have not touched on the lack of future planning or blaming of COVID or foreign nationals or poverty. Just a side note, all of these the responsibility of the governing party to mitigate. It is just too easy to find the failures. But as a human, I really wish that our success stories were every day, but they are not. And I really wish that the failures became needles in a haystack, but they're not. It is our duty of care to stand up and make a difference within this department. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable N. Duplessis.
Thank you.
And let me call upon Honorable Litsie Mogali. Melitsie Mogali. I think on that note, I'll now go to the response from the MEC, Me Nkomo Ralehoko.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I am not going to fight just Andina Energy too. Honorable Deputy Chair of Committees, Honorable Speaker, members of the Executive, members of the Legislature, senior members that are here from all other organizations, ladies and gentlemen, this year under review, which is the 1st of April 2020 to March 2022, took place at a very challenging time for the country, with the continuation of the pandemic and socio-political unrest around the Gauteng province, and which was during the third and the fourth wave of COVID-19 pandemic, with the province that have driven the country's third wave of COVID-19 infection. And it is also during this time that we continue to enjoy support from other government sectors, but also unprecedented support from the private sector. All these partnerships helped make the difference in the COVID response. Regardless of the pandemic, the number of patient visits at both of our primary health care facilities and hospital outpatient in departments increased by 10% from 16 million to 18 million, and with 4 million people attending our hospitals' outpatient departments, an increase of 6% from 2020-21 financial year. And we have ensured that we constantly maintain above average medicine availability. The set 2021-2022 targets for both vital and essential medicine availability were both achieved at 96%, which is above the average of national medicine availability of 90%. As demonstrated from the initiatives introduced during the year under review, the pandemic provided avenues to do things differently. And in this regard, the enrollment of clients into the CCMTD program improved by 6% from 1 million during the 2020-2021 to 1,085,232 during 2021-22, with an excess of 232 clients enrolled during the reporting time. Honorable Chairperson, significant improvements were also noted in the following areas. We managed to maintain the unqualified audit opinion, albeit with material irregularities from the previous years. The employee satisfaction rate improved by 2.7% points from 59% during the 2020-21 to 61.7% during 2021-22. The total HIV test done increased by 15% from during the 2021 to 5 million during 2021-22 financial year. Previously, it was 4 million. HIV positive test among 15 to 24 years group decreased by 9% from 222,705, 15 in 2021-2022 to 2735 in 2021-22, keeping the positivity rate below 4.7%. The proportion of adult clients with viral loads suppression increased by 2.7% from 88.1% 2020-21 to 90.8 2021-22. Infant of polymerase chain reaction, which is called PCR test positive around 10 weeks, declined by 0.09% points from 0.69% 2021 financial year to 0.6 21-22 financial year. 57.1 vitamin A dosage coverage was attained against the 2021-22 target of 50%. The case facilities due to diarrhea and pneumonia were kept below the set 21-22 minimum threshold. Proportion of clinics that achieved ideal status increased by 3.4% points from 89% in 2021 to 92.4% in 21-22 financial year. And these are critical for UHC and NHI readiness. We are indeed not satisfied, all of us, with the performance in the year under review, and a number of areas which they need more of our attention that will be paid in which is the following areas. The first one is the OHS compliance, which is critical for the safety of both staff and personnel. And during the year under review, we had 19 targeted hospitals. We're sitting at 51% in terms of percentage on compliance with OHS administrative regulations, while administrative compliance is being achieved and the infrastructure components did not progress. Honorable members, our areas of constant underperformance included largely support services, and key to these patterns is the system, process and people challenges. To name a few in these areas is none of the ICT, on the ICT projects, that none of those that were implemented during that time due to delays in the SCM processes, but we're starting to roll them out now. I acknowledge and I agree with what colleagues are raising, because but now there is some work that we're doing. And due to loss to follow up on the challenges, which untraceable clients, the only 1.1 million total clients were on ART treatment and remained below the target of 1.4 million. So we're still sitting at 1.1 million at that particular time of the report. The 90% mark among the TB treatment success rate was not attained due to the high loss to follow up, coupled with a high death rate of TB patients, and a similar trend was observed with the DR/TB clients. Issues with purchase orders, again, under the Treasury disputes and incorrect invoices, made the department not to pay 70% of the invoices without disputes with the stipulated 30 days. Up to 8.5% of the total SCM budget was spent on township enterprises against the identified commodities and was below the 30% target that was set by the department. Paternal deaths increased by 5.1 from 294 in 2020-21 to 309 in 2021-22. 88% of under 1 year infants were fully immunized against the target of 90%, whilst 83 were given measles second dose and did not meet the target of 90%. No new hospital was completed and only one clinic was completed during the reporting period, while there were no major refurbishments or rebuild was done. On other areas of serious concern to all of us, its claims associated with medical negligence contributed to 51% to the total new claims verified during 2021-22. Whilst mediation and quality improvement initiatives were being implemented, a closing balance of 24 billion on medical legal raises concerns at this level of the bill and will certainly impact on sustainability of our health care. But again, Chair, we have plans in place dealing with the issue of litigation, the issue of medical legal. We have the team that is responsible for litigation. But now, Chair, we want to focus on mediation again, because we must start mediating before we even take it further to litigation to try and reduce the amounts that we're doing. And we never had that team. Now we're going to have that team that is responsible for that, because that's an area that is going to hit the department indeed in terms of budget. Extremely high neonatal maternal patterns contributing to 76.5% of the overall under 5 mortality remains is a concern. High patterns of acute severe malnutrition mortality increase. Late bookings by ANC pregnant women with women presenting during labor without prior history of antenatal care visits. In line with our commitments towards improving infrastructure, of the 15 OHS projects, 7 have reached construction stages. Your Yusuf Dad, your George Mukari, your Jubilee, Vescopis, Leratong, Pekimlangen, and Kopanong. And the completion of Zone 17 Clinic and Fine Town with the project's construction reached 98%. I know today they are finalizing the issue of ESCOM at Zone 17 Clinic. And the 3 clusters, namely Chris Anibara, Steve Biko, and Jubilee, and DGM were completed. Anglo-Ashan cluster was the only cluster at that time that was not completed. But in conclusion, Chair, I think we can assure this House that this department, we have made a commitment to improve access to healthcare and indeed committed to render a responsive, value-based, patient-centered in healthcare in the province. And it is for this reason that the areas which were observed that are persisting in underperformance, particularly in critical support services, various interventions to address this gap will be focusing on now. And finally, Chair, Gauteng healthcare system is a dynamic, complex system, and we cannot run it by ourselves alone. We need participation of various sectors in building Gauteng healthcare system that we can all be proud of. But Chair, again, there are issues that colleagues are raising on the supply chain, which we are working on. I'm sure when we get into the next report, we will get a different report that we have seen that members are raising in that area. The issue of Tembisa, we are working on it. We will be giving this House a report once it's completed in the Premier. I think it's at the final stages now, and we're definitely going to act on those, including other reports that we have not acted as the department. They are coming to me soon. We'll be acting on that. Taking you back again to the issue of supply chain, I'm doing the overall change of that unit in the supply chain. And I know the legislature have been telling me that I must act on that, but I didn't want to act without a proper process that is being followed. Changing even the committees that are there, that are evaluating. I know they are going to come to yourselves once I start striking, because I'm going to strike soon, starting this afternoon. You will get results about what I'm going to do in that area. Same as the issue of underspending. Come the end of this financial year, we are going to finish that money that is supposed to be allocated to specific projects that are assisting the health sector. Then on the issue of Charlotte Mekgwe, colleagues, I know the report says it was not completed. The Charlotte Mekgwe is operating now. All the areas that were closed, they are operating, whilst they are still constructing on the other side, but it doesn't mean that that hospital is closed. Everyone is there. We are working and we are ensuring that we do diligence work that is not going to disturb the institution. On infrastructure, we had engagements with the MEC, DIT, so that we can look into the priority projects, especially the hospitals that we want DIT to start implementing. Hence, I'm convinced that even the money that is there on infrastructure is going to be finished, because we're going to utilize that money. It's not much money, but we'll definitely make it a point that we give you 80% work in all the hospitals that we are supposed to be renovating, and some in specific areas. But we have agreed that we will prioritize them. I know there are those that we have even raised them, like your Tambo Memorial, part of Jubilee that we have not finalized in terms of the roof. We are finalizing that. Then the other issue, on the consequence management, I've dealt with that one. I'm going to deal with it. I like it because, but I always want to make follow up proper processes when I do that. The other one is the issue of poor planning. I'm not going to dispute it and say, colleagues, we're planning properly. For the mere fact that you don't spend your budget, it's because you didn't plan properly. So colleagues are not lying when they're saying that. That's the right thing. Same as the issue of irregular expenditure. We're working on it with AG and the Department of Treasury. They are assisting us in that area of irregular expenditure. We will struggle a bit, I know, because of the things that were supposed to submit to Treasury on time. But the team is working on that to ensure that we do change the issue of irregular expenditure. That is huge in our department. We are going to reduce it. In fact, we want to clean it at some stage, because that's our priority that we will be doing. 30 days payment, you are going to get a different report. I know we've improved recently, last month, and I know even this month we've given ourselves a target that we must pay service providers within 30 days. And we're doing well so far, because now we're no longer doing what we used to do before of targeting specific companies, because that's what officials were doing. They target Jack Bloom because they know that Jack Bloom is going to do something after that payment. Now we're saying don't target companies, pay people that are on the system, especially those who have been there for years and ages. And I know officials that have been doing that already, and I'm going to act on them, because I know the officials that are not pressing the button to pay service providers, because they want service providers to pay the monies. And service providers are honest. They will tell you that so-and-so said I must not be paid. If I'm paid, I must do something. So they are honest because they need their money. So those are the things that we're arranging. But thanks, colleagues, and thanks, Chair, for allowing us this opportunity to talk to this report. I know it's not a good report, but we will work with yourselves to ensure that we bring a better report in the next quarter and in the next annual report in this House. EMA MECs 2011 check, I'm part of those, but each MEC must make a difference. I will make my difference in changing that department, because I believe that that department can be changed. There is nothing that it can be. It can be possible if we are all working together as a team. But again, when I give you answers in any report, please always write it properly and verify the figures, especially Honorable Member Bloom, so that those figures we all agree, all of us, about them when they go to the newspaper, so that we are cleaning the department. Let's not destroy the department by again providing information that is not relevant. If you want to know before you go to the newspaper, ask me, so that we can even exchange notes and say this is right, this is not right. Because I hate us to fight and argue about something like this, and especially in the department that it deals with lives of the people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, MEC Nkomo Ralihoku. Secretary, the next order.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs. The next order of the day is consideration of the Health and Wellness Portfolio Committee Oversight Report on the annual report of the Department of Health and Wellness, and including its entity for the year 2021-2022 financial year. Thank you.
Me Paladi de Gamela.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair of Committees. Let me report that parts of the report that I could not read here today be considered as read. Of the 59 625 allocation to Health and Wellness Department, 49 amounting to 95.7% was spent, showing 4.3% under expenditure of 2,576 million. Regarding the department and its entities, in terms of women empowerment, 44.1% of the senior staff establishment was occupied by women at senior management positions during the 2021-2022 financial year. For the next year, it was 46% planned mark. However, it was not attained due to attrition challenges and continued declining numbers of female SMS members over time during the financial year. The department participated in the TEPO 1 million job creation program, the provincial strategy for job creation and empowerment of unemployed youth. It contributes to the program by ensuring that unemployed youth have access to bursaries as a production pipeline to create job opportunities in the health sciences, internship programs, and community service and learnership programs. These programs aim to empower youth to become employable and in some instances provide direct employment through medical and clinical internships and community service. On committee findings, there was an under-expenditure across all 8 programs of the department. The non-adherence to SCM procedures through goods and services of a transaction value above 500,000 being procured without inviting competitive bids as required by the Treasury regulations. I think, MEC, this is what we are crying about as a committee, and we are happy that you say you are following up on this and it should not continue. Irregular expenditure was also noted on other programs, including fruitless and wasteful expenditure amounting to 17 million. The unmet planned target of 30% on budget spent on township enterprises against identified commodities. The unmet percentages of service providers' invoices without dispute paid within 30 days at 27.2% against the set target of 70%. We will be waiting to see that there is an improvement also on this one. The unachieved target on the integrated health information system at 6 out of 33 planned CHC facilities and only 2 out of 37 planned hospitals. The non-implementation of PACS on all planned 33 health facilities. The unachieved target of EMS P1 rural response under 60 minutes. Backlog on maintenance of health facilities and lack of budget to address this challenge. The department is therefore requested to critically evaluate the capacity, skills and expertise required in order to deal with infrastructure. On committee recommendations, a comprehensive plan to ensure proper spending in alignment with the set targets across all programs of the department is needed, at least by the 31st January 2023. Strategies to ensure consequence management on the persons responsible for the non-adherence with SCM policies and procedures when procuring goods as required by the Treasury, as well as to provide a list of those companies that goods were procured from without inviting competitive bids. The strategy is needed by the 31st of January 2023. However, we were listening and we wish to see people taken into responsibility for their wrong actions. A detailed strategy on how to lessen the irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure going forward. Here, a comprehensive report is at least is needed by the 31st January 2023. A comprehensive strategy on the implementation of integrated health information system is also required at least by the 31st of January 2023. A detailed strategy that seeks to deal with lessening the medical legal contingent liabilities. The strategy is also needed by the 31st January 2023. A critical evaluation on the capacity, skills and expertise required in order to deal with infrastructure and maintenance of health facilities. I wish to thank the Honorable MEC Ntombi Mekgwe and her team led by the HOD Dr. Nomonde Noluchungu for the preparation of the annual report and the efforts made in taking the committee through the details of the report and responding to the questions raised by honorable members. Highly appreciated is the role of the committee members of the Portfolio Committee for their dedication and commitment. I will not mention their names, they are here, including those who take part through apologies. I would like to acknowledge the support staff. This one, they don't change and they all attend all the time. Group Committee Coordinator, Panchwambalo, Researcher, Dr. Ninweli, and Researcher, Dr. Mukonoto, Committee Coordinator, Ngidi, Research Committee Coordinator, and August Committee Administrator, Team Somi, and Isaac Ngobo, the Service Officer, and W. Nzimande, Information Officer, AB Mukoka, Communications Officer, and Hansa Staff, Makwela. On adoption, in accordance with Rule 117, Section 2, Subsection C, read together with Rule 164, the Health and Wellness Portfolio Committee recommends that the annual oversight report on the Department of Health and Wellness for the 2021-2022 financial year be adopted by the House, taking into account committee's concerns and recommendations made in this report. Thank you, Deputy Chair of Committees.
Thank you very much. Can I get a seconder to the report?
Second the report, Mr. Acting Chair.
Thank you. Let me now ask a question. All those in favor say yes. Yes. And those who are not in favor say no. The yes have it. Let's get to the next order, Secretary.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs. The next order of the day is debate on the annual report of the Department of Community Safety for the year 2021-2022 financial year. Thank you.
There is a change on the list. We are starting with Honorable Bosch.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. The 20th of September, I received a frantic call from the community of Juklin in Shoshangui where a truck was hijacked and they drove off with the truck while the driver's child was still stuck inside the truck. The community tried to reach a police station and could not get an answer. I immediately realized that this was within the jurisdiction of the Rietgat police station, a police station that has not had electricity for more than a year, and contacted the district commander who activated the flying squad. Fortunately, the child and the truck were recovered. A scary story with a happy ending, but too many other residents in Gauteng does not have a happy ending. The general appearance of the annual report also seems quite satisfactory, yet police stations are deteriorating and the people of Gauteng are living in absolute fear while gangsters and criminals thrive. It is clear that the annual performance plan and the annual report are not addressing the true needs within our communities. The department's oversight work has revealed that the province continues to grapple with challenges particularly relating to the poor police visibility at ward level. It also indicated that 45 high-performance vehicles and 4 mobile police stations were delivered to SAPS to improve police visibility and access to police services. However, Acting Speaker, these 45 high-performance vehicles are like a drop in the ocean compared to the large number of vehicles that are currently waiting for repairs at the state garages. Some police stations only have 2 working vehicles, and all stations have a huge challenge of vehicles being sent to garages for just one little issue like a battery repair, but they return with multiple mechanical issues at the end. Similarly, the 4 mobile police stations can only bring relief if a 15 to 30% vacancy rate in the police stations across Gauteng is addressed and the positions are actually filled. Without human resources, these mobile police stations will merely be stationed at the station, serving absolutely no purpose. This takes me to another important point in the annual report in terms of Programme 2 and the 11.2 million underspending that was meant for patroller uniform, which was contracted but not delivered, and for payment of patroller stipends, which was also not paid. Patrollers in areas like Shosh, Eersterus, Westbury, Eldorado Park, Riverlee, Soweto, Atteridgeville, Reiger Park, and various other areas are faced with daily killings, and these patrollers have a critical role to play. 2 weeks ago, an Uber driver got shot through his head, and the very next day, another 2 people were killed. A disabled person was killed while sitting in a wheelchair, to mention just a few of these incidents. From August to date, close to 100 people have been killed as they were caught in the crossfire between territorial fights between these gangs. Acting Speaker, in a world where the gangsters have more rights than our own community members and outnumber the number of police officers, it is of utmost importance to equip our patrollers. Acting Speaker, the MEC has the power to change the culture, address the crime and restore the trust relationship between the community and the police. The DA has done its oversight inspections of the police stations and can assist the MEC with a list of challenges and priorities that we need to fight for. Time is running out, and before we know it, more lives will be lost. MEC, we need to find a way to stop crime and bring back safety to our communities before this provincial government sits with more blood on its hands. Thank you.
Honourable Munisi. Thank you. Honourable Munisi. I'll go to Honourable Robinson.
Acting Speaker, as the festive season approaches, I am already fearful for the safety of road users and pedestrians in Gauteng alike. With an annual increase of 41% in road fatalities in the province, it is clear that not enough is being done to ensure the safety of road users. What is commendable is the department's commitment to running safety operations and hitting all the predetermined objectives as set out in the annual performance plan. Almost 8,000 reckless and negligent driving operations were conducted, just shy of 15,500 speed operations conducted, almost 1,900 drunken driving operations conducted, and 2,516 pedestrian operations conducted. These seem to be impressive numbers, but the question that then immediately comes to mind are these operations effective? Are the targets that were set high enough to bring about a real sense of road safety? I would hope that the targets set for traffic management are not arbitrary targets that merely assist the department to always succeed in a frivolous tick-box exercise. Because despite hitting all these targets, our roads seem to be no safer for motorists or pedestrians. I concede that reckless, negligent or drunken driving remain behavioural problems. However, the lack of 24/7 traffic policing certainly does not assist in mitigating these risks. Instead, Gauteng traffic police vehicles were rebranded. While the department has conducted a great number of drunken driving operations, it has failed to a large extent to finalise blood tests in order to effectively prosecute. I note that the department has undertaken to procure EBAT in the 2022-23 financial year, which is a step in the right direction as the Western Cape has been demonstrating since 2016. But before we rejoice, the department seems to be very fond of rollovers, accruals and non-implementation of plans. That would explain the 8% under-expenditure in traffic management alone. To date, I still see no movement with regard to the command centre. Even now, the budget has not been spent. This command centre is vitally important as right now we are losing both the battle to fight crime and to ensure responsible driving in this province. But year after year, there seems to be no progress in getting it up and running. Why is that? I sincerely welcome Premier Lesufi putting his money where his mouth is in the new adjustment budget for the department. Finally, with the use of technology, the department can move out of the 20th century and into the 21st. Or can it? The failed implementation of its outcome towards the command center does not inspire any faith that we will see these projects come to fruition. That would be a travesty, as an unspent budget is useless. They are mere numbers on a paper that tell a story of what could have been. As I conclude, Acting Speaker, I must stress the importance of the work being done by this department. When we look at any of the statistics coming forward from the department, we must remember that we are not dealing with numbers and obscure figures. We are dealing with people. If this department succeeds, we will have a far happier and safer province. I thank you.
Thank you. Ntate Kanyile.
Thank you. Deputy Chairperson of Committees, today we are called upon to reflect on the performance of the ANC-led government of Gauteng in its Vote 10, which is about promoting community safety. This is performance in the period which includes the mid-term of the current 6th Provincial Administration, which was in mid-October 2021. We are therefore not reflecting only on the performance of the Gauteng Department of Community Safety, but also on its capacity to realize the commitments of the ANC-led government on safety of the community of Gauteng for the remainder of the 6th democratic term. It will be disingenuous of us if we were to make this reflection on the performance of the department outside of the impact of its programs on the safety of the community of Gauteng. Ours is about the people. We have said that the community safety programs for which we advocate, the policies and programs we develop and finally implement, must be people-driven and people-centered. The people shall govern. The Gauteng Department of Community Safety in its 2022 annual report has demonstrated that it is not immune to this fundamental principle. As we reflect on this annual report, we have a choice to either talk to ourselves as the governing party and sing praise to ourselves even where these do not exist, or we also may engage with the opposition and try to respond to its malicious, negatively advanced facts and allegations. Revolutionary movements like the ANC, which are leading governments of the people that are people-centered and people-driven, choose neither of the two. We are today choosing the people of Gauteng. Our option, like it has always been, is to engage in this debate with honesty, and in that way, we shall bring a message of hope to the people of Gauteng. We are because they are. Deputy Chairperson of Committees, our reflection of the 2022 annual report of the Gauteng Department of Community Safety provides us with an opportunity to ensure effective assessment of the halfway we have traveled since the 2019 elections. In doing so, we must commit to accelerated implementation of radical plans to achieve not only a better life for the citizens of Gauteng, but also that they are people and that they as people are and feel safe. We note, as reported by the department, that the ANC-led government had a mid-term review session late last year, which resulted in the adoption of accelerated plans on safety, amongst others. This includes the establishment of several war rooms, including on safety. Deputy Chairperson of Committees, levels of crime have a direct impact on the direction of community development, social cohesion, economic growth patterns, and family structures. The recently released second quarterly crime stats are a concern to all of us. There are varying expert analyses on whether crime in Gauteng is getting worse or not. Whilst this debate continues, ours is to take what the Minister of Police expressed when he released the crime stats last month. He was concerned about the rising levels of the various categories of crime. We also acknowledge that crime has a devastating effect on the citizens of our province. It affects their desire to move freely and explore the province, to move freely to contribute to ensuring an active economy. It is a hindrance to efforts to build social cohesion and for individuals to move freely to see and bond with other family members. In responding to these crime statistics, We need not overlook the impact of immigration into Gauteng on the proportions of crimes committed. This must include our general interrogation of the effects of COVID-19. Premier Lesufi has outlined an accelerated plan and program to deal decisively with crime and gangsterism in Gauteng province. The MEC of Finance, Honorable Mabulo, has outlined initial allocations of funds for this plan and programs. The doubting Thomases are still questioning if these plans and programs are realistic and can be funded. Unlike the opposition, the citizens of Gauteng understand the concept of continuity and change. They understand that the recent pronouncements by Premier Lesufi are but an acceleration of the safety foundation on community safety, which has been laid by the government, which was led by Premier Makura. The people of Gauteng understand that the pronouncements are those of the ANC. The pronouncements are made to accelerate their safety because of the assessment which was made by the ANC-led government mid-term. It is in this regard that the people of Gauteng see the accelerated safety plan and programs as bringing hope to them, and that these recently announced accelerated interventions will be realized because they are relevant and they, as the community, have embraced them. Deputy Chairperson of Committees, we implore on the MEC to take a tougher stand in the oversight on the South African Police Service, especially on their function of combating sales of drug and human trafficking. We know that the MEC of Social Development, Honorable Rakane, last week welcomed the cooperation with Gauteng Department of Community Safety on fighting drugs in our communities, including in schools. This joint action must also result in accelerated mobilization, coordination, and leading of society in fighting this evil in our society. Deputy Chairperson of Committees, today we have entered the 12th day of 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children. We are extremely concerned about the recently released quarterly crime statistics by the Minister of Police, Honorable Mekgwe, on matters related to violence against women and children. We continue to welcome the approach taken by the department to ensure implementation within its mandate of the commitment of fighting gender-based violence and ensuring women emancipation as announced by the President. We need to accelerate coordination with the Gauteng Department of Social Development to tackle the scourge of violence against women and children. This includes joint effort with the Gauteng Department of Education targeting the safety of girl child in schools. At the same time, let us welcome the deployment of safety kiosks in Onye higher education institutions for the safety of women students. What we have committed that the society we strive for is that which is united, democratic, non-racial, and prosperous. We must acknowledge that our efforts to also build a non-sexist society are dealt a major blow by the violence on women. We will need to refocus and double our efforts to rally and educate society about the prospects of the non-sexist society. All these above efforts can only be further strengthened by methods to mobilize and coordinate the whole of society to be actively involved, not only in protection of women and children, but also to ensure that women economic empowerment and independence is realized. We welcome the role that has been played by the structures like women as safety promoters, men as safety promoters, and ward-based GPV brigades, where the department has established such. Their success calls for the department to accelerate the establishment of these structures in the rest of the remaining policing precincts. The role played by Ikhaile Themba in empowering victims of gender-based violence and child abuse to confidently represent themselves in courts in the presence of perpetrators of these heinous crimes must be applauded. It is in this regard that the efforts of the department to build more Ikhaile Themba must be supported. This must be built on the accelerated plan to expand ward-based green doors. Deputy Chairperson of Committees, the people of Gauteng are concerned about the levels of lawlessness on our roads. The report you are considering today has identified this and the levels of road fatalities, especially by pedestrians, as a matter which needs prioritizing. We welcome the fact that focus of the road safety education awareness program by the department start at pre-primary and primary school level. We will, however, also need to consider the following: that we fully align our programs to the new decade of road safety approach. This is because the current narrative by the department seems to be still based on the 2010-2020 to 2020 approach. The approach to accelerated focus on 40 priority policing precincts should not exclude matters related to road safety and prevention of pedestrian fatalities. We must find ways to induct those who migrate into our province on road safety requirements as it relates to the fast-paced Gauteng province and a province with advanced road management systems and traffic regulations. The effective coordination by the National Traffic Police, the Gauteng Traffic Police, and the Municipal Traffic Police must be prioritized and be led by newly reconfigured Gauteng Department of Safety and Security. Importantly, also, we will need an accelerated coordination between the Gauteng Department of Safety and Security and other departments which are tasked to ensure improvement to road conditions, like the Gauteng Department of Roads and Transport and Municipalities. Deputy Chairperson of Committees, last week during the debate of the annual report of the Office of the Premier, the leader of the official opposition suggested to the Premier that he should establish a forum where leaders of all political parties could provide suggestions on what Gauteng provincial government should do to govern. The Premier promised to look into the suggestion out of his good heart, because Premier Lesufi does have a good heart when it comes to serving the people of Gauteng. The question that begs an answer is how sincere is the suggestion by the leader of the official opposition? Why is the opposition not utilizing the existing official and legislative platforms to test their views? In this legislature, the Oversight Committee on the Premier's Office and Legislature, OCPOL, comprises of all leaders of opposition parties. A similar platform suggested by the leader of the opposition party. Are they not seeing this as a platform to test their suggestions? This is one of the perfect platforms because its recommendations, when adopted by this House, become resolutions binding to the executive, especially the Premier. Portfolio committees of the legislature are platforms where what official opposition refers to as shadow MECs participate and express their views. In the case of the vote we are debating, the official opposition has a shadow MEC for community safety. Is it a demonstration of no confidence in their competency that another platform must be created? Over years, the Department of Community Safety has been prioritizing quarterly review sessions between the MEC for community safety and members of the mayoral committees responsible for community safety in all municipalities. As coalitions of the minorities were being established to govern municipalities in Gauteng, these quarterly review sessions became meaningless because the coalition of MMCs were either no longer attending the sessions or they ensure that recommendations of these sessions are not implemented. The introduction of the district development model is intended to be the platform to bring various spheres of government to ensure coordination or to ensure a coordinated development of local communities. A similar platform suggested by the leader of the official opposition. If he genuinely believes in his suggestion, why is the opposition having difficulty in supporting the DDM? As it relates to the vote we are debating, the ANC-led government of Gauteng has prioritized and outlined programs for coordination with national and local government to ensure that we move towards getting citizens of Gauteng to be and feel safe. Is the opposition not seeing this as a platform where they could deposit their supposed genuine suggestions to ensure improved safety of our people? Their negative attitudes towards all these existing platforms can only be interpreted to mean that they are concerned that the outcomes of these platforms could benefit the majority of municipalities which are governed by the ANC, and will thus provide the narrative that the ANC lives and the ANC leads. This also could upset their plan in municipalities where in coalition, because they would have to also prioritize the marginalized townships as well, a matter which is not top in their priorities. Over years, cooperative governance has been a priority of the ANC-led government. The call for local government to establish community safety forums is intended to ensure that coordinated efforts to plan, implement, and lead community safety at local level, working together with communities and other spheres of government. These community safety forums are led by members of mayoral committees responsible for community safety. In the era of the coalition of the minorities to govern municipalities, these have collapsed. Their comprehension of the people shall govern has proven to be difficult because they do not believe in putting the people first, especially the marginalized black communities. Now, the answer to the question I posed earlier about the honesty of the suggestion by the leader of the opposition is that it is an attempt to bring co-governing through the back door. They would like to taste the power of governing of the province as they now see that with accelerated and focused implementation plans implemented recently on safety amongst others, which were announced by the Premier by the ANC-led government recently. Their hope for power in Gauteng is becoming a future deferred and which will not even be attained. I thank you.
Thank you very much. MEC Mazibuko.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. And let me acknowledge Speaker and Deputy Speaker, the Premier, and members of the Executive Council and honorable members of this House. Let me also greet the citizens of Gauteng, all protocols observed. Honorable members, the annual report for the financial year 2021-2022 reflects the efforts of the Department of Community Safety in executing its mandate as set out in the Constitution of the Republic, and the additional mandate given by the 6th Provincial Administration of championing the fight against gender-based violence and femicide in the province in line with the GGT 2030 safety strategy. In the year under review, we reflect the work we had to do in mobilizing communities in the fight against crime and social ills. And time is not set here, Chair, so I can't follow exactly how many time do I have. Yes, I also watched the watch. The green doors that we launched in the 5 corridors of the province throughout the financial year, alongside the existing Amakaya chamber that we have, made it convenient for the victims of GBVF and survivors to be able to obtain sheltering services. The floor managers deployed at police stations are also working in order to shorten the waiting times and minimize secondary victimizations for persons who are reporting GBVF crimes. The appointment of the GBVF social workers allowed us to guarantee that we will offer specialized services across the 5 corridors. Honorable members, in every police station now in Gauteng, there are GBV desks. Gone are the days of arriving at the police station and being asked to go to Zowenzan, and you start explaining, thereafter get referred to another police officer. If you are a male, it was worse. Police will call each other and say, and you explain, and thereafter they refer you to another police officer, and they ultimately end up laughing at you. Gone are those days. We now have trained police officers who are helping each and every person who arrives at the police station. Of course, there will still be those bad potatoes amongst them who will say, Hambanyo Kuluma, instead of them doing their work. So, as a social worker, instead of being the police. Building safer communities remains a top priority for the Gauteng provincial government, and the department is working with law enforcement officers and communities as part and parcel of the force multiplier to ensure a safer Gauteng for its residents and tourists alike through the growing Gauteng Together 2030 five-year policing plan. The department has actually established a war room on crime which comprises of 3 subcommittees, namely the Provincial Integrated Command Center, Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Prevention, Public Safety to improve public safety through implementation of district model, which is at ward level. The War Room on Crime brings together all levels of government, civil society, the private sector, and critical stakeholders to improve coordination in the fight to rid Gauteng of its crime. Amongst its responsibilities is to improve access to police service, improve police visibility at ward level, improve partnership in policing, effective bind law enforcement, improve detection rate for all prioritized crimes, improve provision of social and economic support for parents and caregivers of vulnerable children, eradication of environmental design factors giving rise to crime. The collaboration and sharing of resources between government, private security industry and business will have a significant impact on our crime prevention initiatives. Safer communities will only be achieved when government, the private sector and communities come together and be able to work together. The security endeavor that we also held in this year under the review with law enforcement organization and private security companies strengthened the relationship and also paved a way for ensuring that police work with reputable companies and individuals in the security sector. As the Gauteng provincial government, we committed to assisting the SAPS with other resources in the fight against crime, and we are glad to report that we did procure 45 high-powered vehicles. We procured and donated the mobile police stations, and others are continuing to be deployed. We appointed 133 traffic officers, 5,912 community patrollers were deployed at 96 policing precincts, which covers almost 144 wards in our province. We conducted announced and unannounced visits at police stations. We monitored the compliance with Domestic Violence Act and implementation of the IPID recommendations. We oversaw the resolution of service delivery complaints from community members who were reported at station level. We also conducted the GIPS, which is a Gauteng Information on Police Performance System sessions with 55 priority stations to account on improved monitoring of police performance and service delivery. Performance and recommendations were also made to the SAPS, and we believe also using that tool that has come from National of Monitoring, we actually implemented it. We also analyzed 2,202 closed docket crimes across the province, and on crime prevention operations, we also participated in operations amongst others, the Safer City operations and the Ukaimlao as per National Crime Prevention Strategy in collaboration with other law enforcement agencies. These operations resulted in the arrest of almost 340 alleged suspects and 437 robberies. On reduction and road fatalities, we conducted operations to deal with reckless and negligent driving, and 1,019 motorists were found to be above the speed limit. Acknowledging the contribution of speed to road traffic crashes and fatalities, 15,490 operations were actually conducted. And out of them, 417 of those that believe that they are driving in Kyalami were nabbed for driving above the speed limit. A total of 906 pedestrians were also removed from the highways. On community mobilization on the fight against crime, take charge awareness campaigns were done to promote social cohesion, and social crime prevention interventions were also conducted. Outreach programs were also done in communities, and as part of our efforts to improve community and police relations, we actually assessed even the CPFs and the community safety forums that also exist, within our municipalities. To promote safety in schools, in addition to the Provincial Safety Summit to address school burglaries, bullying, drugs and alcohol abuse, a total of 2,546 school safety interventions were also conducted. We have been working with other departments, House Chair, in ensuring that as a social cluster, our approach in community engagements does reflect that we're able to assist one another. Not all challenges that exist in communities need policing. Some need the participation of other departments. In the previous year, also of 2020, we committed to employing traffic officers, which were actually done. And also we asserted the community policing forums as organs of people's power essential in the fight against crime. For the year under review, strides were made in ensuring that CPFs are re-established, trained and active in their policing precinct. Where CPFs were not well coordinated, members of the community were mobilized themselves under structures, and they are able to fight criminality. But we urge them to also register under the CPF, because that will also assist them and be able to take their fingerprints. You will not know, maybe you are operating with criminals, you think it's people that are here to assist you, only to find that it's people that are there to sabotage you. In conclusion, House Chair, Premier Sufi has made fighting crime the #1 priority in this province. And under his leadership, more resources have been committed. Just yesterday, the 5th of December, it was the closing date for the 6,000 crime-fighting wardens. This will bring policing closer to our people. This, we call it ward-based policing, and which will further include high-tech technology such as the drones, the CCTV cameras with face recognition, number plate recognition systems, and added to that, it will be helicopters in each and every corridor. This will be doing in conjunction with all relevant stakeholders interested in the fight against crime. I would like to extend a special word of gratitude to the Portfolio Committee under the new chairperson, who is a doctor, hopingly soon he'll be a general or a brigadier, and also members of the Portfolio Committee. The law enforcement agencies, led by Lieutenant General Mawela, for their continued commitment in the fight against crime. Not forgetting to thank the previous chair, Honorable Member Anna Ndlovana, who was also the chairperson of this committee, and members of the committee who always play their pivotal role in ensuring that we are held accountable as a department. HOD and senior management also, they acknowledge. House Chair, let me wish all communities of Gauteng a safer festive season. Those of you who will be going on holiday, drive safely and plan your trips to include stops and searches, which will delay you. We know you get angry when you get delayed, but this is done in order that you arrive alive and that criminals do not use or sabotage you as you are on your trip. Even when you come back in January, we will still be on the roads as part and parcel of visible policing and safer festive season. Those of us who will be here in Gauteng, be cautious and not drink excessively. Always know where your children are, especially where there's been digging of manholes. Wishing everyone in the house and in Gauteng a happy Christmas and a happy New Year. Siyabonga kakhulu.
Thank you very much, MEC. And the last order, Secretary, order number 12. Can you read that?
Consideration of the Community Safety Portfolio Committee Oversight Report on the annual report of the Department of Community Safety for the 2021-2022 financial year.
Honorable Masuku.
Thank you, Deputy Chairs of Chairs, and good afternoon to the Premier in absentia, Leader of Government Business, members of the Executive, honorable members. The committee is here to table its oversight report on the assessment of the annual performance report of the Department of Safety and Security for the period of the 1st of April 2021 to the 31st March 2022. I would also like to request that the parts of the report that were not going to be read aloud to be considered to be read. And I'm only going to focus on the executive summary and also deal with concerns and recommendations. Of 980.9 million, which was received for the financial year 2021-2022, 915.7 million was spent, representing 93% expenditure. This was under the expenditure, this under expenditure of 65.2 million represent around 7%. The budget expenditure per program was as follows. Program 1, the department spent 162.2 million, which is 97% of the allocated budget for the financial year, with the underspending of 5.3 million. Program 2, the department spent 237.7 million and 226.5 million was spent, marking 95% expenditure. Also here recording under expenditure of 11.2 million, which is around 5%. Program 3, the department was allocated 575.6 million and they spent 527 million, marking 92% expenditure. Again here there was a bit of underspending. The committee noted that the department continued its efforts of ensuring safer communities through monitoring of police performance and the implementation of Gauteng policing plan. Announced and unannounced visits were conducted at all the 104 police stations and 36 metro police districts. The committee noted that the report about 90% of the 55 police stations which were identified as priority police stations based on their high volumes of crimes continued to perform poorly, mainly because of shortage of vehicles. The department procured and handed over 45 high-performance vehicles and 4 mobile police stations to the provincial South African police service in effort to improve access to police services and heighten police visibility. In addition, 5,912 community patrollers were deployed at various community wards in support of the district development model. Although gender-based violence and femicide remains high, the committee welcomed the strides made by the department in supporting survivors of this pandemic. The department reported that the victims of GBVF were supported and offered a range of services which included medical, legal, psychosocial services, as well as skills empowerment opportunities to break the cycle of dependency from their perpetrators. In addition, 186 floor managers and 615 gender-based violence brigades were deployed at various police precincts to enhance support. Furthermore, the committee noted the concerns raised by the department regarding the expansion of the illegal liquor outlets and non-compliance with the Gauteng Liquor Act. The proliferation of illegal and undocumented persons, illegal occupation of land, and illegal mining, these are issues that the committee has actually noted from the department. The committee also noted concerns about the increase of acts of extortion by criminals masquerading as business forums. The concerns of the committee. The committee is concerned in relation to the following. One, the material finding as outlined in the Auditor General's report for the year 21-22 financial year, the delay in the establishment of the Central Command Center, the constant increase of violent behavior at schools, the lawsuit against the department amounting to 74.5 million, the increase on illegal occupation of land, and a constant increase on road crashes and fatalities, particularly at the high level of pedestrian fatalities. The committee therefore recommends the following: that the department must report on its implementation of the AG's recommendations. The department must speedily finalize the establishment of the Central Command Center and report progress. The department must strengthen its intervention measures to minimize the increase of lawsuits, particularly of unlawful arrest, motor vehicle accident, and assault by the Gauteng Traffic Unit. The department must review its school safety intervention strategy or program with the intention to improve intervention and deter the spate of violent crimes in schools. The department must submit a detailed plan aimed at dealing with the increased illegal occupation of land. The department must report on the implementation of the 24/7 shift system for the Gauteng traffic officers and the functionality of road safety council in averting the spate of pedestrian fatalities. And lastly, the department must submit a progress report on all the above stated recommendations by the 28th of February 2023. As a chairperson of the Community Safety Portfolio Committee, we wish to thank the Honorable MEC of Community Safety, Honorable Sis Nonhlanhla Faith Mazibuko, HOD Ms. Nontsikelelo Sisulu, and their team for the cooperation during the committee assessment of the work of the annual report of the department. And my deepest gratitude is to the members who, every time called upon, they actually respond to the call of the members of the committee, Member Nkosi Malubane, Member Kanyile, Member Bosch, Member Robertson, Member Khatebe, Member Hoffman, for their all invaluable contribution they make during this assessment. I further like to thank the staff of the legislature who help us to run the committee, the committee coordinators, Mpachwa Mbalo, Nenweli, Malise Mpanda, Malumane, Mufukeng, Kumalo, Baloyi, Royo, and Nichubuyu, and all the others who continue to make sure that the work of the committee and the legislature continues to work. In accordance to Rule 117, Section 2, Subsection C, read together with Rule 164 of the GPL Standing Rules, I, the chairperson of the Safety and Security Portfolio Committee, hereby table this oversight report of 2021-22 annual report of the Department of Safety and Security to the House for adoption, taking into consideration the concerns and proposed recommendations made in this report. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have a seconder?
I rise to second.
Thank you very much. Now pose a question. All those in favor say yes. Yes. And those who are not in favor say no. The yes have it. And this concludes the business of the day. And as indicated, this is the last sitting of the year. And we wish you a Merry Christmas, prosperous New Year, and those who are traveling, travel safely. But now note, our next sitting is the 20th of February, that is 2023. It will be our SOPA, 20th of February. We can stand up.